FCA Bangalore is organizing this workshop, Agroforestry Promotion, Present Policies and Changes in FCA. On behalf of Director ICFRA IWST, I take pleasure in welcoming Shri Bivas Ranjan Sir, ADG Wildlife, MOF and CC, Government of India, Chief Guest of the workshop, who has constantly guided us in organizing this workshop. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I welcome the panelist of the workshop, Shri Mahesh Kumar Shambhu, DIG, Regional Office, MOEF CC, Bangalore, Shri R.K. Sapra, IFS retired, former MD, Haryana Forest Development Corporation, Shri Jaideep Chitlangia, Secretary General of FIPI, Shri K.N. Murthy, IFS retired, former PCC of Karnataka. I also welcome Jagmohan Sarma Sir, DG EMPRI Karnataka. Further, I welcome all the participant stakeholders, including REC members of Regional Office Bangalore, representatives from wood-based industries, representatives from wood-based industry associations, agroforestry farmers, professors and students from Agriculture and Forestry College, user agencies of FCA, including KPTCL, Irrigation Department, Karnataka PWD Department, NHAI, Telecommunication Department also. I also take pleasure in inviting representative officers from Forest Department of Karnataka, Goa, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh. Further, in addition, we have Agriculture Department of Karnataka also in the workshop. Now I request Sri Subramaniam Sir, DDG, MOFCC, Regional Office Bangalore, to give a brief on the workshop.
Good afternoon, everybody. Esteemed Chief Guest, Sri Bivas Ranjan Sir, esteemed Director, IWST, and co-host of today's workshop, all the distinguished participants in this workshop, both who have joined physically here and online. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, that Forest Conservation Act is almost 43 years old, and during the last 4 decades, the ecological and the economic perspectives have undergone a sea change, and accordingly, not just within the country but internationally also, and there is a strong need that was felt to bring in a kind of an integration between conservation and development, and to enable the same by providing a robust regulatory regime. Accordingly, the Government of India has done the amendments to the Forest Conservation Act 1980, hitherto known, and the objectives of the amendment was, as I said, an integral component of any regulatory regime should be a clear understanding as to what the provisions are. Everybody, anyone who reads and anyone who implements should be able to understand it in the same way, so that the act is implemented uniformly. So the clarity on the applicability and implementation has to be brought about, and then promotion of plantation on non-forest lands. As you all know, the trees outside forests is going to play a major role in ensuring that we achieve the National Forest Policy goal of 33% of green cover in the country. And at the same time, the productivity of the natural forests through enabling provisions have to be enhanced. And we also have a commitment to discharge the national and international aspirations such as NDCs or carbon neutrality, etc. Now, with these objectives, the Act has been amended, and for its effective implementation, it is imperative that everyone understands as to what the Act is about and what changes have come in after 4 decades of its implementation. So, with this objective, the Government of India has found it appropriate to have a massive outreach to reach the general public and various stakeholders associated with the implementation of the Act and execution of the provisions, and has planned to organize a series of workshops. And as part of this, a workshop on agroforestry promotion, present policies and changes in the FCA is being organized today jointly hosted by ICFRE, Institute of Wood Science and Technology, and the regional office of MOFCC, Bangalore. And I welcome you all for this workshop, and I hope that it will be able to achieve its objective of giving the clarity on the amendments that have come in and will help in better implementation of the act. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Shri MP Singh sir, Director ICFRE IWST, for his opening remarks.
A very good afternoon, Honorable Chief Guest of today's workshop and dear participants. We at IWST have been conducting a stakeholder meeting, especially for the agroforestry and wood-based industry to augment raw material for this industry. When this opportunity came to IWST to organize this workshop on the Forest Conservation Act amendment, specifically with regard to promotion of agroforestry, we thought that let us organize it at the short notice itself, because our all stakeholders have been looking forward to new opportunities all the time and policy interventions from the ministry and from Government of India. I think best part or the expectation of the industry will be articulated by Mr. Jaideep Chitlangia ji and other participants from the industry. We also have REC members here who have the mandate or who will be looking at the perspective from the ecological point of view. So I think we will have a good convergence when we undertake discussion on this important issue, and we'll also come out with the what has been incorporated in the act and whether this meets the expectation of the industry, farmers and other stakeholders, or we need to go further also in this direction to facilitate this wood-based industry in the country. As you all know, India is the biggest importer of timber in the world, and we have large area suitable for agroforestry, suitable for tree cultivation and forestry also. Then also we are looking for food security and sustainability. I hope this workshop gives some pathway in that direction. I once again welcome all of you for joining a short notice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our chief guest, Shri Bivas Ranjan sir, ADG Wildlife, MOF and CC, Government of India, for inaugural address.
Thank you very much. Namaskar and good afternoon to everyone. I think today's workshop is meant to disseminate the grievances or the knowledge or the bottom lines of the various amendments made in the Forest Conservation Act to the people, to the stakeholders. As we rightly know, this is the ministry where there are four major amendments have been taken place in the Biodiversity Act, Wildlife Protection Act, Indian Forest Act, and fourth is the Forest Conservation Act. So there are a series of amendments taken place in the various enactments of the ministry. There are many stories, positive and negatives. Many people say jungle khatam ho jayega, barbad ho jayega. So what is the objective? How this amendment could be driven through the legislation to the extent that we can restore the concept of ecology and economy, regulations versus restructuring of the infrastructure. The country is progressing. We need infrastructures, no doubt about it, but not at the cost of natural resources. So how the balance could be maintained? What are the amendments which are affecting the forest or natural resources, or what are the amendments which are protecting the natural resources? I am of the opinion that debate must go on. Number two, if there is a need of a debate, if only negatives are being rumored, let us listen the positives also, that what the policy maker have thought of, that why this amendment was required and what are the major changes has been taken place. Today's theme that how agroforestry will be promoted after this amendment. In nutshell, I can only conclude here. In the past, people used to avoid the planting in their own field. They had to have the fear. Probably once the plantations is done, we will not be able to harvest the stocks and reuse our lands. So there was a mindset in the people's mind. Plantations should not be done on the farmers or own land. So how this amendment facilitates the promotions as well as expansions of the agroforestry, I think the expert will focus it, but there are provisions which facilitates the agroforestry outside the forest areas, which was becoming a hindrance in the past. So there are certain clarifications which has been done. I request all the stakeholders to clear their doubts in today's meeting. And I expect from all the personnels, officials, organizers, the director of the IWST, the DDG Bangalore, to clarify each and every doubts of any participants who are here, so that the positives also can be disseminated as it has been disseminated in the past. So once again, wish you all the best for a wider circulations of the positives as well as the wider circulations of the amendments made in the Forest Conservation Acts. So I again wish you MP and Subramaniam good luck for today's workshop and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your encouraging words. And now moving forward, I request Sri Mahesh Kumar Shambhu, DIG, Regional Office MOF and CC, to give a presentation on Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023.
Okay, sure.
Forward and back. Okay. The delay. Okay. Respected Chief Guest, ADG sir, senior officers from IWST and the Regional Office of MOFCC at Bengaluru, dear co-panelists, REC members, participants, and dear friends. So I begin by saying that 43 years is a good enough time in a legislation to review it and to accommodate the dynamic changes that are happening in the ecological, social, environmental, and economic aspects of a country. Sir, I see a wide range of participants today coming from different backgrounds. I see forestry college students to senior officers. So if you permit me, I'll start with a basic introduction to the Forest Conservation Act and then move on to the amendment. Finally, the significance of the amendment to the wood-based industry and the agroforestry sectors. So the act is now named as Van Samrakshan Evam Samvardhan Adhiniyam 1980. There is a lot of significance in the change of name also. I'll come to this specifically in the subsequent slides. So for the benefit of our young friends who are participating today and also the wood-based industry, we all know that the jurisdiction between state and center is clearly demarcated in the Constitution of India. There is a state list, there is a central list, and there is a concurrent list. Forestry and wildlife as a subject was in the state list prior to 1977. Prior to 1977, the states were empowered, rather prior to 1980, enactment of Forest Conservation Act, state governments were empowered to divert forest land for non-forest purposes in their jurisdiction. Due to various reasons, in the year 1980, the Government of India, after moving the subject forest from the state list to the concurrent list, enacted Forest Conservation Act. Let's understand one of the reasons and an implication of bringing into force the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Between 1955 to 1980, the statistics say that 41.35 lakh hectares of forest land was diverted for non-forestry purposes. Post the enactment of Forest Conservation Act in 1980, till date, about 10.04 lakh hectare of forest land has been diverted. Let's understand the significance of the reduction. It is 10.04 lakh in spite of multifold increase in the population of the country, in spite of rapid increase in the agricultural production and food security, and widespread increase in the developmental works. In spite of all these things, there is 1/4 reduction in the diversion of forest land for non-forestry purposes after the Forest Conservation Act was enacted and implemented. Dear friends, not only that, not only has there been a drastic reduction in the diversion of forest land, but also the loss of forest land has been adequately compensated. If you look at it, look at the statistics, 12.39 lakh hectare of compensatory afforestation has been raised against the 10.04 lakh hectare of forest land that has been diverted post 1980, which was not available, which benefit was not available pre 1980. Dear friends, the crux of the Forest Conservation Act is in Section 2. What is the crux of the Forest Conservation Act? Section 2 of the Forest Conservation Act states that no state government or any authority under the state government shall order any of the following without the prior approval of the central government. Therefore, four things. What the state shall not do without the prior approval of the central government. One is de-reservation of a reserved forest, use of forest land for non-forestry purposes, assigning of forest land by way of lease or otherwise, and clearing of naturally grown trees for reforestation. These four activities shall not be done by the state government without the prior approval of the central government. What has to be understood is the actual dereservation, use of forest land for non-forest purposes, assigning of forest land by way of lease or otherwise, and clearing of naturally grown trees as and when required will be done by the state government only, but not without the prior approval of the central government. If anybody does so, there is a penalty provision incorporated in the Forest Conservation Act. This is the crux of the FCA Act. Now let us come to the amendments, the changes that have been brought about during the year 2023 by the amendments. Friends, this slide highlights the important amendments that have been brought about during the 2023 amendment. That is why Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. One is a preamble has been introduced. I will explain each of the significant change in a separate slide. First is a preamble has been inserted in the act. Second one is the name of the act has been changed. Third is the definition of forest land has been clearly given. In fact, if you look at it, the hallmark of any legislation is clarity.
Regulations.
The clarity that was to some extent lacking before this amendment has been adequately compensated by bringing about clarity in various definitions. Definition of forest land with regard to plantation, whether FCA Act is applicable to plantations or not, that clarity also has been incorporated. And also exemptions that were required have been now incorporated in the legislation, in the amendment itself, the act itself. Further, a lot of activities which government, these conservation management activities were many times being confused to be non-forestry activities. That has been very, very clearly clarified in this amendment by defining which are not non-forestry activities and which are ancillary activities to the forest conservation and management. Further, as we all know, every requirement, every circumstances cannot be accommodated in a single legislation. There has to be ample scope for clarifications, directions to be issued subsequently. That provision which was hitherto not available in the Forest Conservation Act, has now been incorporated, thereby empowering the central government to come up with directions as and when required. These are the main amendments that have been brought about in the Forest Conservation Act, which we look into it separately, individually. Dear friends, we all appreciate the importance of preamble. Oh, sorry. Yes. In fact, even the higher courts of the country, like High Court and Supreme Court, whenever there is a confusion in their minds about the provisions of the Constitution, they look at the preamble of the Constitution. Likewise, the preamble that has been inserted to the Forest Conservation Act 1980 now gives a clear view, the aims and objectives and the purposes of the act. It is a directed act, purposeful act. The preamble makes it so. Dear friends, the Indian government has set national targets. It has voluntarily disclosed nationally determined contributions that it is going to make to mitigate the effects of climate change. All these international commitments, all these issues that the government is committed have now been reflected and incorporated in the form of preamble. If you look at the preamble, it states that the act will further the national ambition to achieve net zero emission by 2070, net zero emission of greenhouse gases. Then our vision to create additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent by 2030. That has been incorporated. Another important thing, hitherto, we used to notice that our aspiration to have 1/3 of our geographical area under green cover was only in the policy, sir. Now, that the statement in the policy has now been brought into a legislation. I believe this is a very big step. This clearly indicates the intent of the government, because policy, a statute or a legislation has much more sanctity and much more binding nature than a policy. That has been brought into the statute now, into the Forest Conservation Act. So all these things, by being incorporated in the preamble, this act has been made more focused and more driven. This is the importance of preamble. Friends, further, earlier, we have seen that the name was Forest Conservation Act 1980. Now the name has been amended to One Sanrakshan Evam Samvardhan Adhiniyam. Two distinct words. Samrakshan, the earlier aim and objective of conservation, has been retained. Along with that, the word Samvardhan has been included. Looking at the realities, socio-economic, ecological realities of the country, the changes that the society is undergoing, the aspirations of the nation and people as a whole, the word development signifies the intent of the government to not only protect but further develop the forestry sector. Hence, so in a legislation, every word has a meaning, every word has a significance. That's how we have to look at the legislative intent. So I believe the change in the nomenclature of the legislation itself shows a path-breaking intent of the central government. Dear friends, we all know that Forest Conservation Act was one of the smallest acts actually. It is a 5-section act. Such acts have both advantages as well as disadvantages. One of the greatest problem that we encountered, but many people encountered, was interpretation. Now, such doubts about definitions of certain important words have been clarified in this act. For example, if we say if the act is applicable to any forest, what does forest mean? The word will have varied meaning. Add to it the interpretation of the courts also. That will add to much more confusion. So taking into consideration all such issues, including the interpretation of the courts, a holistic definition has been arrived in this act. This is going to be very, very helpful for everybody, in fact. So according to this act, now there is a clarity as to on which land the Forest Conservation Act will be applicable. So this act shall be applicable to all such lands which are declared or notified as forest under Indian Forest Act or any other law for the time being in force. That is, one is declared as forest or notified as forest under any law. Second one is it is applicable to those lands that have been recorded as forest in government record. Now, what is a government record? In fact, a very clear definition is given for that also. Government record would mean any record held by the Revenue Department or Forest Department or any authority, local body, community or council recognized by the state government or the Union Territory Administration. So FCA Act now is applicable to what all lands? That is, one is declared or notified as forest under IFA or any other law. Second thing is recorded as forest in government record. Yeah. This thing, declared as forest, notified as forest or recorded as forest. Now, there is a provision here. If it is recorded as forest in government record, though if it is recorded as forest in government record, but the purpose of the such recorded forest has been converted or used for non-forestry purpose by a competent authority, by an order of the competent authority prior to 12/12/1996. That is Godavarman judgment of the Supreme Court. If it has been done so prior to 12/12/96, then FCA Act will not be applicable to such lands which were such recorded forest lands which have been put to non-forest purposes prior to 12/12/96 judgment. Those lands which are declared as forest, which are notified as forest, and which are recorded as forest, but have been put to non-forest purposes by the order of the state or union territory government prior to 12/12/1996. So these three categories, FCA Act is applicable. This clarity helps to most of the people and state governments to plan, to enter into a forest, whenever the state government wants to locate a project, it will have a clear idea which is a forest, which is not a forest. The Act further clarifies as to those lands where FCA Act shall not be applicable. We know now where it is applicable. It has specifically now mentioned where it is not applicable. So where shall the Act be not applicable? The first one I have already told, those recorded forest, not notified forest, those recorded forest for which land use has already been changed to non-forest purpose by a competent authority of a state or UT prior to 12/12/96. This is one category of land. Second is FCA Act shall not be applicable. This provision is very, very important and of great significance to wood-based industries and tree growers. FCA Act is not applicable to the trees and tree plantations or reforestation raised on land which are not forests. That is, if anybody has raised a plantation or a tree on a non-declared area, non-notified area, and non-recorded area, then there is no FCA Act applicable to that. The significance of this is that personally in our in service we have seen that many farmers were very, very apprehensive of growing tree crops on their land, thinking that one day FCA Act shall be applicable to it. Once you apply FCA Act, it becomes very, very difficult for them to cut or to divert that land for other purposes. So this has been very amply clarified, very clearly mentioned in this Act. No tree plantation or reforestation land shall be raised on non-forest land. There FCA Act will not be applicable. This is second category. Third area where FCA Act is not applicable is all those roadside and rail side amenities for the purpose of access to habitation and other amenities. Actually, along the road and railway line up to an area of 0.1 hectare, if you need a land to access to habitation or an amenity, then up to 1 hectare in each case, exemption has been provided in the Act. Further, considering the importance of national security, strategic linear projects located within 100-kilometer straight line distance from the international borders, line of actual control, and line of control projects. In these areas, FCA Act shall not be applicable. Next one is security related infrastructure involving an area up to 10 hectares. Further, another category where exemption has been made is public utility projects and security related projects in left wing extremism affected areas involving 5 hectares of forest land. In all these categories, Forest Conservation Act shall not be applicable. But the exceptions made shall be subject to conditions as the central government will specify. The guidelines are under finalizations and they shall be notified shortly. What has to be understood is there is a lot of misunderstanding that all these areas, now that they have been brought out of the purview of Forest Conservation Act, are freely accessible for development. It is not like that. There are two caveats. One is central government shall issue proper guidelines. Second thing is, see, as I told you earlier only, what FCA Act proposes is prior approval of the central government. What has been exempted is the prior approval of central government. The whole processing mechanism in the state government continues to be there. Processing and approval mechanism is still in place. That will now be subjected to the guidelines as finalized by the central government. So it is not that the misconception among the people that it will be free for all is unfounded. I think that has to be dispelled actually. Further, another amendment that has been brought is section 2(3). Till now, what used to happen was, whenever the government wanted to lease a forest land to a government agency, like a forest corporation or some other corporation, they need not have gone to Government of India for prior approval. Only when they had to lease a forest land to a non-governmental agency, like a mining company or somebody, they had to take the prior approval of Government of India. Now both have been brought on the same pedestal. If the state government wants to lease the forest land to either a government agency or a private agency, then FCA Act shall be applicable, and that such lease, providing of such lease shall be subject to orders, terms and conditions as shall be specified by the central government. Both private agencies and government agencies have been brought on the same pedestal now. Another clarity that this Amendment Act has brought about is it has clearly defined what is a non-forestry activity and what activities are ancillary to conservation and management of the forest. Survey and exploration, there has been a long held debate among the public and the government also that surveys have to be excluded from the process of FC, forest conservation actually. So now the government of India has, in its wisdom, has decided that survey and exploration shall be considered a non-forestry activity if it fulfills these terms and conditions that will be specified by the government of India shortly. If the survey activities, which includes reconnaissance, prospecting, exploration, investigation, including seismic survey, if they are within the limitations or within the terms and conditions as specified of government of India, then that also shall be considered as a non-forestry activity. Further, in fact, forest department and government as such used to face a lot of problems when they had to carry out their day-to-day operations, ancillary activities also, because there used to be a doubt lingering always in their mind whether that attracts FCA Act or not. But now the central government by this amendment has given an exhaustive list which clarifies whether these areas which are ancillary to management of forest and wildlife will be under the Act or not. All the listed activities such as silvicultural operations including regeneration will not attract the FCA Act. Establishment of checkposts, infrastructure for frontline staff, maintenance of fire lines, establishment of fire lines, wireless communications, construction of fencing, boundary marks, pillars, bridges, culverts, check dams, water holes, trenches, pipelines, establishment of zoos and safaris, as referred to in the Wildlife Protection Act and owned by the government or any of the government authority in forest areas other than PS shall now be a forestry activity or ancillary to forestry activity. It will not require approval under FC. Ecotourism facilities as included in the forest working plan or wildlife management plan or tiger conservation plan of that area, if it has been included and approved by the competent authority, it will not be a non-forestry activity. Further, liberty has been given to the central government to add any such like purposes as and when need arises. So all these activities will not in any no more attract FCA Act. The clarity is now provided. One thing that always used to happen, if you see, Forest Conservation Act being a very brief act and rules used to supplement the act to an extent, but beyond that, the government had to issue hundreds of guidelines. The sanctity of the guidelines itself was questioned many a times, whether the government was in the competency to issue such guidelines. Now that anomaly has been corrected and central government has been empowered in the act itself to issue guidelines or orders as and when required. This anomaly has been corrected. These were the major amendments, prime amendments that have been brought about by the Van Sanrakshan Evam Samvardhan Adhiniyam 2023. Briefly, I shall explain to you the significance of this to wood-based industry. Friends, I believe a synergy between the changes in the Forest Conservation Act and consequent and complementary changes in the state legislations, especially with regard to felling and transit, will give a boost to the industry and agroforestry sector. FCA Act, the changes brought about in FCA Act has brought about perceptual change which will aid the wood-based industry as per my view. Let me highlight some of those issues. The name change itself emphasizes that the government is looking at not just conservation but also development of forestry sector. This is an important aspect. Further, the preamble speaks about bringing 1/3 of the geographical area of the country to the green cover, into the green cover. This journey from a policy to a statute is very, very important aspect. There is scope for every sector, government and as well as private sector, to participate in this national ambition. Third, the clarity that this amendment has brought about the non-applicability of Forest Conservation Act to trees and plantations grown on non-notified and non-recorded forest lands should remove all the apprehensions from the minds of the industries and from the minds of the farmers, and they can grow trees without any problem, without any fear that Forest Conservation Act will be applicable to it. Recently, Government of India also has brought about changes in the Forest Conservation Rules 2023. In fact, in suppression to that, they have brought about Forest Conservation Rules 2022. In the rules, there are few concepts which give boost to the wood-based industry. One such concept is accredited compensatory afforestation. What is accredited compensatory afforestation? Till now, what used to happen was the user agency will come to the come through the state government to the Government of India, takes approval for forest diversion. After diversion is given, he will he will pay money and give land to the state government. State government will raise the forest compensatory afforestation on the land given. What accredited compensatory afforestation does is, it encourages proactive raising of plantation even prior to diversion. And this growing of forest need not be done by the state forest department. It can be done by private people also. For example, I am a farmer. I have 100 hectares of land. On a commercial basis, I can grow trees on that land, and I can I have to register. There is a mechanism that has been described in the guidelines. Broadly, what I am telling is I can grow 100 hectares, then I can sell it to a industry which is in need of a forest land for its project. So what is happening is before I take diversion and cut a forest area, already there that equivalent amount of forest area has already been raised. This is an area where there is so much of scope of plantation. I think and this can forge a very strong, alliance between the farmers and the industry. In fact, we are encouraging industry to go forward, contact the farmers, and then ask the farmers, encourage the farmers to grow plantation on whatever feasible land, and later on, there is assurance that they can buy it. So it's easy for the farmers also, remunerative for the farmers also. So ACA is one concept, I think, which implemented properly will revolutionize a proactive afforestation in the country. Second one is land bank. To avoid the time delay in approval and implementation of the projects, as well as in growing the compensatory afforestation, the Forest Conservation Rules 2022 prescribes making of land banks actually. So land banks will help in large scale growing and large scale supply of forest based raw material. Both ACA and land bank will be very, very important and very, very useful for the industry, because wood availability in the market will substantially increase. There will be a certainty, there will be a significant amount of forest based material available to them.
All of the forest lands.
Sir, yes, sir, forest land, and that can be harvested subsequently with the management plan and all actually.
Except is not applicable to non-forest land.
Yes, sir, that is true. That is true.
And bank and the FCA is again forest on forest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's why I'm telling in the long term, large scale growing and supply, I think it will be helpful to the industry actually, because finally management plan can be brought about there and it can be done actually. Further, sir, in the forest conservation rules, another condition has been imposed strictly. Now, if compensatory afforestation, earlier what used to happen was, even after the user agency gives land and money, there was a time lag. The state government would not have raised plantation even after 3-4 years, 5 years actually, because there was no time cap. But now what has been done is, the compensatory afforestation has to be raised within a year of forest land diversion. This will help in timely compensation of tree loss. So these are few of the aspects of Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023, as well as forest conservation rules, which I believe will play a significant role in future in aiding the wood-based industry of the country. Friends, thank you for listening to me, and that's it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very detailed presentation on FCA and amendment of FCA in 2023. And also you have covered the significance of this FCA Amendment Act to wood-based industry also. Thank you so much. Now I request R.K. Sapra sir, IFS retired, former MD of Haryana Forest Development Corporation, to make a presentation. So over to you, Sapra sir.
हेलो, आवाज आ रही है मेरी? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible, sir.
विवास रंजन जी, एडीजी फॉरेस्ट एमओएफ, डॉक्टर एमपी सिंह, डायरेक्टर आईडब्ल्यूएसटी, पी सुब्रमण्यम, ईडीजी साउथ जोन, महेश कुमार शंभू जी, डीआईजी साउथ जोन, के मूर्ति जी, रिटायर्ड पीसीसी फ्रॉम कर्नाटका, and Chitalangya ji, Secretary, PP. Before I start my presentation, I will thank Dr. MP Singh to give me this opportunity to share my thoughts. I think there is a technical problem. Please rectify it.
Sir, shall we share PPT or from your side you will be sharing, sir?
No, I am not sharing. You have to share.
Sure, sure.
Basically, if you see the wood production, it is coming from either from the forest area or tree outside forest. अगर आप देखें पूरी हिस्ट्री तो जो प्रोडक्शन था वुड का वो हमारे जंगल से ही आता था. धीरे धीरे जैसे जैसे हमने रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाया वुड प्रोडक्शन का फॉरेस्ट पे तो टीएफ का बढ़ना शुरू हुआ. एंड दिस इज द स्टैटिस्टिक कि फॉरेस्ट में हमारा करीब 23% एरिया अंडर फॉरेस्ट है. एंड एट प्रेजेंट वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग ओनली 2 to 3 million cubic meter of wood production. And if you see the TOF or tree outside forest area is about 9%, but we are producing 85 million cubic meter. So present requirement of wood being met either through TOF or there is an import of 50 million cubic meter wood or wood products costing about 45,000 crore. So main source either imported wood is there or the TOF. So TF mainly produces the small size wood and your imported wood is the large size wood. Next, please. If you see the growth of tree outside forest, ISFR has started giving TF since 2011. And in the last 10 years, it has grown by 1.2%. And if you see the last 4 years, it is almost stagnant. So there is no growth in spite of all the effort, because what I feel all has been left to the market forces. What is happening? There is no intervention either from the Ministry of Agriculture or from the Ministry of Forest. So market forces are working because there is a shortage of wood and producers are producing it. Next, please. If you see the mandate is Ministry of Agriculture. They have a scheme. They made a policy in 2014, launched it I also attended that function, and World Agroforestry was held. Then submission was constituted in 2016. But that submission has been now downgraded to a scheme only and merged with the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. Now it has become one of the 5 components of this scheme. If you see at the state level, it is being implemented by the Forest Department. Either we are giving free Yesterday there was a discussion in our agroforestry group. When it is a tree, it is under the mandate of the Ministry of Agriculture. When it So there is a dual charge. When it is a tree, it is with the agriculture. And when it becomes a timber after felling, regulation of the forest department comes. So that is one of the reasons for its growth in hindrance. Next, please. Next. Changes already DIG साहब ने बड़ा अच्छा ढंग से एक्सप्लेन कर दिया. ये लीज को जो इन्होंने सिंप्लीफाई किया है, बिकॉज लीज
सर आपका वीडियो पॉज करके यू कैन कंटिन्यू सर, अदरवाइज आई थिंक नेटवर्क कनेक्शन इज देयर फ्रॉम योर साइड. यू कैन पॉज योर वीडियो सर एंड यू कैन कंटिन्यू.
pass video. How to pass video?
I mean, just
It is stop video. Here it is coming.
please continue sir.
So with this clear policy on lease में देखो ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट भी है, क्योंकि पुरानी कोई स्टोरी रही है कि जी हमने जमीन दी और उसने उसको प्रॉपर मैनेज नहीं किया या उसने उसको एनक्रोच कर लिया. जो भी रीजंस रहे उस कारण से बहुत बार प्रयास हुआ, बट लीज वाला कोई भी मामला मैच्योर नहीं हुआ. विद द नाउ द करंट पॉलिसी, आई थिंक दिस सिस्टम विल वर्क आउट in a better way and it should go. I am of the opinion 5 to 10% of the forest land should be meant for production forestry, because in our olden time we are focused on the production. Now we are totally focused on the conservation. Next, please. Already this has been explained, is accredited CA by DIG sahab. I will not use. Only the advantage is the deemed forest. Now there is no confusion about the deemed forest. I think this decision was in the 96 and still in the 25 year, many states couldn't finalize their definition of deemed forest. So it is good that confusion is over now. Next, please. So basically what is being imported, we are spending about either the wood products or the wood. Wood is of the larger size, because it is not available in the market. There are many friends of industry whom I interact regularly. They are trader also. They say कि सर local wood market में available ही नहीं है, और किसान बड़ी लकड़ी, किसान मीडियम रोटेशन या लॉन्ग रोटेशन बिल्कुल नहीं उगाएगा. ये जो कुछ भी आ रही है बाय डिफॉल्ट आ रही है, कुछ फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट से आ रही है. तो I am of the opinion कि 5 to 10% of forest area may be leased for raising medium term. Medium I calculate as a 10 to 15 years, and long rotation I have taken about 20 years. It may vary from person to person. And then how the money will come? Either these lands are with the forest corporations also, and public-private partnership means public money is coming in. But public money, I will say, you see the road sector. There was one scenario, there are many models of road sector development came, and after a long time they are settled, and now there is a lot of rush for spending in the road sector. So I will just request my colleagues, those who are in the Ministry of Environment, they make such a offer, let the people come. Otherwise, it will take another time. People will not invest their money unless until it is profitable, and profitable as respect to other ventures, what they are getting out of others. I will go for the best investment, whatever it is. And then forest corporation. Forest corporation have to shift. Also, many forest corporations, they are raising eucalyptus, acacia, orchid farming regions because they are more profitable. So, same facility, what we want to give to the public fellows, they have to be given to the corporations also if we want to become a financially viable. So, I will suggest that some committee may be constituted. What quality of land should be leased? What should be the lease rate to the forest corporations, plantation companies, industries, and what should be the required incentive? I am of the opinion that without required, because I was studying this China model, without incentive, this investment will not come in the sector. They need discounted loans, capital subsidies, and tax concession. So let the committee decide what is to be given, where it should be given, and all should be on the same platform. Next, please. I have just calculated about your uncultivated wastelands are there, 35 million hectares. So from forest lands, we can go for the long rotation plantation, and on that from TF also. Because I think production of large size wood, MOF should take over this mandate. Farmer will not do, only big persons will do, or the big farmers will do if they have a sufficient incentive. I have seen Mr. Hara, who was at Yamunanagar, he was felling his trees at 10 years, and 10-year trees of one poplar was about a ton, 10 quintal, and the markets changed, and he did not change, so nobody was buying his wood of higher size, and ultimately he has to reduce his rotation. And whenever we visited his farm, he always used to cry, I am losing the money because I am cutting prematurely. So the requirement of farmers is quite different, and the requirement of the large size wood, plantation companies, corporations, industry, they can go for it. They can wait, but with the added incentives. So just I have calculated one figure, it is very conservative. So with 1 million hectare of plantation, it is with the private lands, MRT 12 years, and species Gamhar, Kadam, Kekar, and long rotation teak and shisham. So that will produce 5 million cubic meter, and the money will come about 95 billion. And the employment will be 30 million percentage employment. If anybody wants the detail, it is in the last, I will give in the last. Last slide is given after the thanks, it has been added. Next, please. I started my extension with the farmers. I worked with the farmers. I never went to industry when I was in Haryana. Then slowly, I started going to industry, then studied them, and then correlated their problem. Now I feel if we want to promote this TF sector, industry has to be given the first, because they are producing raw material, and raw material purchased by the industry. If we don't, if our industry will not grow, we cannot grow our TF. To be very, I am very clear of the view. So first, we should understand what are the issues of industry, how to, I think we should go for the exponential rise. We are at such a development, we are the emerging economy, we have to become developed by 2047. So we should focus on this sector. And what are the issues? Unorganized sector. अगर आप देखेंगे कोई डेटा अवेलेबल नहीं, छोटी छोटी इंडस्ट्री है जो मार्केट में वो प्रोडक्ट बना रही है, उनका ना क्वालिटी कंट्रोल है, जो प्रोडक्ट 5 साल या 10 साल चलना चाहिए वो 4 साल या 6 साल में खराब हो जाता है. तो रॉ मटेरियल की वेस्टेज है, कंज्यूमर का भी उसको प्रॉपर प्राइस नहीं मिल रहा है कि जो उसको प्रोडक्ट मिलना चाहिए. और फिर उनका जो प्रोसेस है स्लो लाइसेंसिंग, अभी पीछे 3 साल यूपी के अंदर जस्ट स्पॉइल्ड इन एनजीटी के यू प्रूव योर अवेलेबिलिटी. अब वी आर हैविंग सच ए वर्ल्ड लेवल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉरेस्ट सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया. When agriculture ministry can estimate of Rabi and Kharif crop each year for every state, can't we do it for our country in 2 years for every state? I am unable to. I am man of statistics. I have understood how it is done, but I am very sorry. I have pointed out this many times, but it has not been taken. And every time this work is done by the states, and this is and their figures of states are always questioned. I dealt the wood availability in Haryana. At least my 3-4 reports which are prepared under the ex-director Forest Survey of India, Dr. Rawat, those were rejected by the CEC at that time. So much time we wasted. And the wood is costly because generally we are raising our wood in the farmland, and the opportunity cost of farmland is very high. That is the reason our wood is will always be costly. So if we have to export our product, we have to make certain provisions how we can compensate the industry. And then our products are not certified, neither the wood nor the wood products already. So if we want to export, the capture the export market, we have to go for certification of farm wood and certification of wood products also. Next, please. Now, second, I have put farmer at the second stage. deliberately, because farmer always suffer due to industry, and industry is not growing. Industry has their own issue. So let them grow, and farmer will follow them. One is the harassment in felling of trees and transit of wood. Still, it is being felt. One of the problem was put in the agroforestry group. I sent to the Vibhas Ranjan ji ki please you see what is this happening. Then he replied, small thing, if a eucalyptus is being held up, whatever some legal reasons, but the traders, farmers suffers a lot, and lot of issues come. We should try to deregulate. That is the main hitch for us, and we are always blamed कि फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट इसको छोड़ने को तैयार नहीं है, एग्रीकल्चर इसको अपना मानने को तैयार नहीं है, मैंडेट तो है बट मानने को तैयार। एग्रीकल्चर कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, ना तो फील्ड में कर रहा है। जो स्कीम थी सबमिशन से वो डाउनग्रेड करके नाउ इट हैज बिकम ए स्कीम, इट वाज अ सबमिशन, सो समबडी हैज टू ओन इट। लेट अस गो फॉर अ कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म, इंडस्ट्री, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कंपनी, Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Forest, let us sit together and sort out the issue if we want to really want that the sector should progress. And then inefficient marketing. Now a lot of things have improved, but still marketing, there are a lot of issues. Let us go for the digital market. And then white price fluctuation. Just I shared a news item. In Yamunanagar in 2 months, prices of poplar down by 300 rupees per quintal. So either it was too high, or now the farmer is suffering. Let us go for some mechanism. And now main product of the tree is the carbon sequestration, but farmer is not getting any money out for this. Next, please. I just in this year one document has been released by the your Punjab government. They are really fighting on, they are working on this issue. I am watching Punjab, Haryana for the last more than 25 years. They are trying for diversification, but diversification आज तक भी नहीं हुआ because paddy को जो security है, paddy से जो income है, आज तक कोई भी, not only agroforestry, कोई भी चीज उसको match नहीं कर पाई है. So now they have made a very serious issue. 25 ईयर के बाद मैं ये देख रहा हूँ कि एक बड़ा सीरियस इशू है। या तो ये रिपोर्ट मैंने जब 2001 में तिवारी साहब डिप्टी चेयरमैन थे प्लानिंग कमीशन की, एक बड़ी डिटेल रिपोर्ट बनी, बहुत सुंदर रिपोर्ट बनी, बहुत उसमें सेक्रेटरी शामिल थे, बहुत उसके अंदर सेमिनार्स हुए, बहुत साइंटिस्ट इन्वॉल्व हुए उसके अंदर, और बहुत बढ़िया रिपोर्ट बनी। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य रहा कि वो इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो पाई। तो अभी पंजाब ने बनाया है, रिपोर्ट बहुत अच्छी है, अभी डिस्कशन के बाद ये ब्लूप्रिंट है, फाइनल होना है। तो एक तो कंसोर्शियम की बात कर रहे हैं बनाने की, जितने भी स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं उनको मिला के कंसोर्शियम बनाए, जो कि तमिलनाडु में बहुत बढ़िया फंक्शन कर रहा है। अगर तमिलनाडु में फंक्शन कर रहा है तो अगर स्टॉक होल्डर चाहेंगे तो हरियाणा आपके पंजाब में भी करेगा। एंड दे हैव गॉन फॉर द फेयर प्राइसिंग, के सारे स्टॉक होल्डर मिलके एक फेयर प्राइसिंग डिसाइड करेंगे। तो ये सबसे बड़ा मुश्किल है कि फेयर प्राइसिंग कैसे करेंगे। जब मार्केट ज्यादा होगी तो आप दे दोगे, लेकिन जब मार्केट में रेट कम है तो फेयर प्राइस पे इंडस्ट्री कैसे देगा, इसको कैसे इंप्लीमेंट किया जाएगा, वेरी डिफिकल्ट। अगर ये इंप्लीमेंट हो जाता है तो कोई इशू नहीं है। एंड देयर विल एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन फार्मर्स एंड इंडस्ट्रीज, देन बेसिकली लॉन्ग रोटेशन होता है तो उसको पैसे की जरूरत होती है फार्मर को, तो ही नीड्स मनी। सो सॉफ्ट लोन की बात हो रही है जो कि ऑलरेडी आपका तमिलनाडु में चल रहा है। एंड देन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएशन की बात हो रही है कि डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन फार्म बताएं। आज अगर आप देखें तो ज्यादातर स्टेट में, मैं सभी स्टेट की बात तो नहीं करूंगा, जब तक ये प्रोजेक्ट थे खूब पैसा पब्लिसिटी पर भी हुआ, एक्सटेंशन पे भी हुआ, R&D पे भी हुआ, प्लांटेशन पे भी हुआ, बट नाउ इट हैज टेकन अ बैक सीट। जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बने थे उनको टेरिटोरियल में मर्ज कर दिया गया। नाउ दे आर नॉट देयर, ना तो फोकस R&D पे है स्टेट्स का, ना ही फोकस आपका एक्सटेंशन पे है। फार्मर तो मार्केट फोर्सेस में काम कर रहा है, या जो भी उसको एजेंसी मिलती है, अच्छी एजेंसी मिल गई तो उसका ही गेट्स ए गुड प्लांट एंड ही गेट्स ए गुड मनी। कोई चीटर आया तो वो उसको चीट करके चला जाता है, उसको प्रॉपर अवेलेबल नहीं है। तो इसके अंदर इन्होंने डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन फार्म्स की बात करी है, एजुकेट करने के लिए उसको एक टिम्बर पोर्टल बनाने की बात करी है कि वो उसको सारा पता चलता रहे कि इसके पास कितनी लकड़ी अवेलेबल है, कौन बायर है, क्या रेट मार्केट में चल रहा है। देन एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ मंडी लॉज, ये हरियाणा में तो शुरू हो गया है होना, बट ओनली यमुनानगर में ही हुआ। आई डोंट नो ये पंजाब में इसको एनफोर्समेंट की बात हो रही है। अगर ये एनफोर्समेंट होगा तो फार्मर को दे विल बी बेनिफिटेड आउट ऑफ इट। देन पीएयू को गाइडेंस एंड रिसर्च की बात हो रही है। I have seen PAU's many publications. They are doing very good work, and they need to be congratulated for their research. And they have been engaged for guidance and research in agroforestry. Then there should be a division of responsibility. What we are talking, okay, when mandate is the agriculture at the government of India level, there should be some responsibility at the state level also. Extension, R&D, it should be with the agriculture department, and let the other thing should be the forest department. And then extension services का reinforcement and नर्सरी पे क्वालिटी कंट्रोल नहीं है। अच्छी क्वालिटी का पौधा भी मिल रहा है, खराब का भी मिल रहा है। अब ज्यादातर ये डिस्कशन हमारे एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री ग्रुप में हो रहा है कि जी मंत्री जी आए थे यूपी से, और वो डिस्कशन चल रहा था कि जी आंध्रा वाले पौधे बेच रहे हैं, आंध्रा वाले पौधे बेच रहे हैं, आज से नहीं है बहुत सालों से बेच रहे हैं। वहां पौधे को उगाना आसान है, उनकी प्रायोरिटी है उनका। अब वहां से क्वालिटी कंट्रोल हम यहाँ कितना कर पा रहे हैं वो नहीं पता है हमें इसके अंदर। तो दैट शुड बी डन, अदरवाइज देयर में बी चीटिंग। तो जैसा प्लान ये पंजाब ने बनाया है, हर स्टेट को बनाना चाहिए, तभी हमारा एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री सेक्टर तरक्की करेगा। अदरवाइज तो ये मार्केट फोर्सेस के दम पे चल रहा है। जब उसका रेट बढ़ता है किसान लगाना शुरू कर देता है, जब उसका रेट घटता है वो विड्रॉ करना शुरू कर देता है। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। नेक्स्ट, ये गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया लेवल पे मैंने देयर आर सर्टेन सजेशंस, दीज आर नॉट न्यूज, ऑलरेडी डिस्कस मेनी टाइम, कि जो भी प्रोडक्ट हमारा किसान पैदा कर सकता है, कि अगर हमारे किसान की लकड़ी से पल्प बन सकती है, वीनियर बन सकती है, देन व्हाई टू इंपोर्ट? लेट देयर शुड बी एंटी डंपिंग ड्यूटी ऑन पल्प एंड वीनियर। एंड मैं ये भी अनुरोध करूंगा कि कम से कम MOEF ने जैसे बेम्बू को निकाला है सिस्टम से, ऐसे कम से कम 10 ट्री स्पीसीज, 10 नहीं तो 5 से ही शुरुआत कर दें कि भाई इस पे कोई प्रतिबंध नहीं है। किसान लगाता है, लगाए, काटे, ट्रांसपोर्ट करने में, जब वो लगाता है तो वहीं पे उसको एक परमिट मिल जाए कि भाई यार ये इट कैन गो टू एनी स्टेट, ही कैन कट एनी टाइम, कोई इशू नो। ये एक रिक्वेस्ट है, लेट अस गो फॉर एनी मे बी 5 स्पीसीज। एंड देन कैश क्रॉप का जो हम बात कर रहे थे कि ये लॉसेज होते हैं कि या तो बॉटम पे चला जाएगा या आपका हाई चला जाता है, तो इसके अंदर एक हरियाणा की योजना है, भावांतर भरपाई योजना। उन्होंने कैश क्रॉप्स के लिए रजिस्ट्रेशन किया है कि अगर कैश क्रॉप का रेट एक फ्लोर प्राइस से नीचे जाएगा तो द प्रोड्यूसर विल बी कंपेंसेटेड। तो सेम शुड बी अप्लाइड टू ट्री क्रॉप। लेट अस स्टार्ट विद द 2 क्रॉप्स, eucalyptus and poplar, and rest it can be extended to other tree crops afterwards. Then wood markets को जो है वो डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म पे डेवलप करें। देन एक पोर्टल हो बेसिकली जिसमें प्लांटेशन से ही रजिस्टर हो जाए कि भाई किसान ने ये प्लांटेशन लगाया है, उसका सर्टिफिकेशन करना भी आसान हो जाएगा, कार्बन सेक्वेस्ट्रेशन का क्वांटिफाई करना भी इजी हो जाएगा, और जहां पे परमिट चाहिए उसका परमिट देना भी इजी हो जाएगा, काटने का परमिट भी आराम से मिल जाएगा। तो लेट अस गो फॉर ए पोर्टल, बिकॉज हर मिनिस्ट्री हर स्टेट हो रहा है, लेकिन हम शायद इसके अंदर कुछ पीछे हैं। ये एक पोर्टल बनना चाहिए अगर रियली TF सेक्टर को हम आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। देन इंटीग्रेशन, अगर आप देखें, मैं तो हरियाणा में बहुत देखा है, देयर आर सर्टेन फैसिलिटीज जो कि एग्रीकल्चर फार्मर्स को है बट ट्री क्रॉप्स वाले को नहीं है। अब किसान कार्ड है हमारे फार्मर को नहीं मिलता है जो कि पेड़ लगाता है, लेकिन दूसरे को मिलता है। एक दफा मैंने मामला रेज किया कि जी हमारे पास डेटा नहीं है। अरे डेटा तो एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी ने देना है, उनको बोला वो डेटा दे देंगे, इसके अंदर क्या खास बात है। लेकिन ये जवाब देना कि जी हमारे पास डेटा नहीं है, दैट इज नो रिप्लाई। देन प्रायोरिटी लैंडिंग, उनका लैंडिंग रेट अलग है। अभी पीछे ITC ने ट्राई किया, वो उनको लोन दिलाने के लिए, वो कौन सा बैंक था, बंधन बैंक था, वो दे वर टेकिंग अबाउट 20%, और यहाँ किसान को 4-5% में मिल जाता है एग्रीकल्चर का। तो ये जो पार्शियलिटी है ये खत्म होनी चाहिए। और ये जो बॉडी है बेसिकली जो भी हमारी प्राइवेट सेक्टर की है या हमारी पब्लिक सेक्टर की है, जो R&D में है, एक्सटेंशन की है, मार्केटिंग में जो ये काम कर रहे हैं, ये मिलके काम करें, कहीं डुप्लीकेशन ना हो। अगर एक एजेंसी कहीं पे स्ट्रेंथन हो तो दूसरी एजेंसी दूसरी जगह काम कर ले, जिससे कि सारा एरिया हम सारे स्टेट कवर कर पाए। ऐसा ना हो कि एक स्टेट में तो 3 एजेंसी काम कर रही है, एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में 3 एजेंसी काम कर रही है और दूसरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक भी नहीं है। तो आपस में दे शुड हैव ए कोऑर्डिनेशन। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। ये इंडस्ट्री के इश्यूज हैं। बेसिकली जो हमारी इंडस्ट्री है वो बड़े छोटे साइज की है, अनऑर्गेनाइज है। जब तक बड़ी इंडस्ट्री नहीं आएगी, हमारा ना क्वालिटी कंट्रोल हो पाएगा, ना हमारी कॉस्ट रिडक्शन हो पाएगी। तो हमें इस फील्ड में इन्वेस्टमेंट को अट्रैक्ट करना चाहिए, चाहे हमारी लार्ज इंडियन कंपनीज हो या फॉरेन कंपनीज हो। लेट देम कम, लेट देम इन्वेस्ट द मनी, दे विल इंप्रूव द सेक्टर। और एक जीएसटी जो कॉस्टली वुड की बात मैं कर रहा था कि हम कॉस्ट तो नहीं घटा सकते क्योंकि हमारी अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट फार्मलैंड्स की ज्यादा है, तो एटलीस्ट हम जीएसटी का रेट घटा सकते हैं। तो जो जो बेसिकली उसका कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन होगी वुड प्रोडक्ट्स की, वो कम हो जाएगी, तो वो बेटर रहेगा कंज्यूमर के लिए भी, इंडस्ट्री के लिए भी। और जो प्रोसेस है, ये किसी ने अपना एक्सपेंशन करना है यूनिट का या एस्टेब्लिश करना है, उस प्रोसेस को लिबरलाइज करें। और मैं ये देख रहा हूँ, मैंने आई वाज सीइंग सम डिमांड सप्लाई के प्लाईवुड की जो 2030 की फोरकास्टिंग है वो बहुत ज्यादा है। अगर वो इतनी ज्यादा है तो प्लाईवुड पैनल इंडस्ट्री को लेट द जो हमारा मिनिस्ट्री गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में डील करते हैं, लेट देम स्टडी, एंड इफ इट इज सो हाई कि आपका ये हमारी जो सॉलिड वुड है उसकी डिमांड को कम कर रही है और दूसरे सेक्टर की डिमांड भी यही पूरी करनी है, और ये तो लेट इट शुड बी लाइक ए फर्नीचर, इट शुड बी ऑन द प्रायोरिटी। एंड देन सर्टिफिकेशन की बात ऑलरेडी मैं कर चुका हूं। और एक जब तक एक्सपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे ये सेक्टर नहीं करेगा। लोकल में क्वालिटी का कोई ज्यादा इशू नहीं है, माल बेचना आसान है, कंज्यूमर अवेयर नहीं है। अगर एक्सपोर्ट होगा तो एक्सपोर्ट में जो वहाँ इंपोर्ट करता है माल हमारे कंट्री से, वो पूरा ध्यान करता है, तो क्वालिटी कॉन्शियसनेस तो तभी आएगी। और जो मैं एक सुझाव है कि जो फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री को जो फैसिलिटी दी है वो वुड बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री को भी मिले। और एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट, अगर आप देखोगे तो इस सेक्टर में ज्यादातर स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट्स है, तो स्किल डेवलपमेंट की बहुत जरूरत है इसके अंदर, और इसको हमें इंप्रूव करना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। दीज आर सम पॉलिसी एक्शन। एक तो बेसिकली हम एक नेशनल लेवल में कोई वुड की बात तो करें यार, कितनी हमें बड़ी चाहिए, कितनी छोटी चाहिए, फॉरेस्ट लैंड से आएगी, नॉन फॉरेस्ट लैंड से आएगी, फार्म लैंड से आएगी, और कितनी उसकी हमारी फ्यूचर में, अब 2047 की बात करें, 2047 में क्या डिमांड होगी, somebody should plan। और इतना करने के लिए हमें क्या नर्सरी चाहिए, क्या इंडस्ट्री चाहिए, ये सारा कुछ करें। देन एक बात मैं नहीं समझ पाया, विभाग जी से मैं कहूंगा कि इस पे जरा मंत्रालय में विचार करें कि 80s 90s में सारे सोशल फॉरेस्ट्री प्रोग्राम्स they were launched through Ministry of Environment and Forest, और उसके बाद ये बिल्कुल विड्रॉ हो गया। तब तक तो सोशल फॉरेस्ट्री में एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री भी थी, पंचायत लैंड भी थी, अर्बन एरियाज में भी काम करते थे, तब तक तो मंत्रालय वाज डूइंग। और अब कोई बात करते हैं तो कहते हैं ये हमारा मैंडेट नहीं है। आई कुडंट अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट इज द इशू नाउ एंड व्हाट वाज द फैसिलिटी अवेलेबल कि वी कुड डू इन 80s एंड 90s। एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री मैंडेट है, एग्रीकल्चर को करना चाहिए और हमें करवाना चाहिए। ये जो जॉइंट फोरम बने उस फोरम पे बातचीत हो, जिसका जो मैंडेट है दे शुड, एंड देन एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट पॉलिसी ऐसी बने जिससे कि हमारे जो वुड इंडस्ट्री है, वुड प्रोडक्ट्स है, हम उनका एक्सपोर्ट कर पाए। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। दीज आर द डिफरेंट मिनिस्ट्री। और कोऑर्डिनेशन के लिए पीएमओ मैंने सजेस्ट किया है, पता नहीं मैं ओवर एम्बिशियस हो गया, क्या हो गया कि भाई शायद पीएमओ कोऑर्डिनेट करेगा तो हमें रिजल्ट मिलेगा। मेरा तो अनुरोध यही है कि पीएमओ शुड कोऑर्डिनेट ऑल दी इश्यूज। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। आउटकम, प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ेगी जब भी हम एग्रीकल्चर और आपका ट्री क्रॉप करते हैं, फार्मर को ज्यादा पैसा मिलता है। मुझे एक दफा याद है कि मैं एक डाइवर्सिफिकेशन की मीटिंग अटेंड कर रहा था IRI में, और वहां पे डीजी एक साउथ इंडियन थे, डाइवर्सिफिकेशन की बात चल रही थी बट ट्री क्रॉप की बात नहीं करी। तो मैंने हिसाब से कहा, मैंने कहा जी जब पैसा किसान को इससे मिल रहा है ट्री क्रॉप और एग्रीकल्चर मिला के, तो इसकी बात क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो। तो ही फेल्ट हेल्पलेस कि भाई मैं तो नहीं कर सकता बीइंग डीजी ICR। तो अगर ये फीलिंग है तो ये फीलिंग उनकी दूर करनी चाहिए। बट इट हैपेंड विद मी, इट इज माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस एट IRI, इट वाज बीइंग हेल्ड एट द डाइवर्सिफिकेशन। देन एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ता है। एम्प्लॉयमेंट अगर रॉ मटेरियल पैदा करेगा, इंडस्ट्री पैदा करेगी, आपका रूरल डिस्ट्रेस की बात करें, रूरल एरियाज में होगा। नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट। देन इनकम किसान को ज्यादा है, रूरल डिस्ट्रेस कम होगा, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज हम कंट्री अर्न करेंगे, सरकार को टैक्स मिलेगा। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। थैंक्स वेरी मच। एंड नेक्स्ट जो स्लाइड जो मैं बोल रहा था जिसमें आपका रोटेशन वगैरह दिया, इसमें मैंने जो जो दी जाता है assumptions, anybody may disagree and he can change the table with his own wisdom। जो चीज आप चेंज करोगे उसके हिसाब से ये कम ज्यादा हो जाएगा कि 1 मिलियन हेक्टेयर के टीएफ से आप कितना प्रोड्यूस कर सकते हो। रेट भी मैंने बहुत कम लिया है, टिम्बर का मीडियम का 15,000 रुपए क्यूबिक मीटर लिया है, लार्ज का 25,000 लिया है, और एमएआई जो है मीडियम का 6 क्यूबिक मीटर लिया है, लार्ज का 4 क्यूबिक मीटर लिया है। एंड दीज आर द एम्प्लॉयमेंट, दीज आर ऑल assumptions on the lower side, not on the higher side। Thank you very much for giving me a opportunity to share my thoughts। No, sorry, it is over।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving a perspective of tree growers in northern part of country, especially Punjab and Haryana. Now I request Sri Jaideep Chitlangia, Secretary General, Federation of Indian Plywood and Panel Industry, FIPI, to give his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Just want to get my notes correct because the presentation by Mr. Sapra was so inclusive and exhaustive. It actually covers all the issues which relate to the wood-based industry. I'll just add a few points from my side. Thank you, Mr. Bivas Ranjan, for your opening remarks as a chief guest. Dr. MP Singh for inviting me. To all my co-panelists, dear friends, I have been asked to put forward the views of the industry, but on the first and foremost, I need to understand where are we as far as the wood-based industry is concerned. Dr. Sapra in his presentation has very clearly defined the cause of discomfort or disaccord on this front. Unless that is settled, is wood, agroforestry, why is it under the Forest Conservation Act? Now, what are we talking about? Forest Conservation Act. What does conservation mean? And what are we talking about? Wood-based industry based on agroforestry. So first and foremost, we need to divide and come to a conclusion. What are we talking about? I have multiple notes with me, but I just want to raise this fundamental issue. एक तरफ कह रहे हैं we need to conserve forests, एक तरफ कह रहे हैं we need to develop the wood-based industry through agroforestry. Can we find some terminology which is what should I say, जिसका आपस में भिड़ंत नहीं हो, which is not contradicting each other? So we have MOEF, which is wanting to promote agroforestry. We have the Agricultural Ministry, which says, I don't know anything about it. Just to bring into perspective, I think 15 days ago we had a chat. Dr. Singh was in Calcutta and he brought across a team for creating a knowledge base on chain of command through a program which actually addresses a lot of these issues. What timber is available for should I say, for the industry through agroforestry? Can we map our land area? Where are we going? Now we are talking about, somebody spoke about, the first presentation spoke about 33% forest cover area, right? Now what is this 33%? Of which forest area? Of which land? Is it the surplus land that is available in the country? Is it the total land area of the country? If it is supposed to be 33%, I can assure you this 33% is very, very easily achievable. Because what happens? We are talking about tree cultivation and cutting, and that can only happen in by rotation. Once you start the rotation policy, automatically your tree cover will start improving. So first and foremost, we need to address what are we discussing. Why should any timber in agroforestry not be freely movable, transportable? Why do we need controls? So there are certain basic premises which need to be addressed. And this can only be done, as suggested by Dr. Sapra, on if we create a coordination committee, we have all the stakeholders there, we have representatives of the various stakeholders, we take a note of what is there, what are the pain points. He's very, very well listed out the various pain points at the different levels. Now, these pain points cannot be different between Northern India and Southern India. We have to talk about, let's put it this way, we have to talk about भारत as one. हमको एक भारत की बात करनी है. ये नहीं है कि उत्तर भारत में क्या हो रहा है और दक्षिण भारत में क्या हो रहा है, पूर्व भारत में क्या हो रहा है या पश्चिम भारत में क्या हो रहा है. क्योंकि देखिए, जहाँ लकड़ी है, जहाँ रॉ मटेरियल है, वहीं इंडस्ट्री आएगी. तो जो कॉमन कॉजेज ऑफ कंसर्न है, उनको हमको एड्रेस करना ही पड़ेगा. अगर हम उस मुद्दे पर रह गए कि ये एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री के डिपार्टमेंट, आप उनके पास, अब मैं इंडस्ट्री की तरफ से बात कर रहा हूँ कि सर ये तो एग्रो इंडस्ट्री की प्रॉब्लम है, आप उनके पास जाइए. वो बोलेंगे ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट एंड फॉरेस्ट की प्रॉब्लम है, आप उनके पास जाइए. तो एज ए इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट मैं क्या करूँगा? मैं, जैसा उन्होंने कहा कि मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं करूँगा, मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट क्यों करूँ? मैं किसी से इन्वेस्टमेंट क्यों करवाऊँ अगर उसको रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं मिलने वाला है? आज फार्मर हो चाहे इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट हो, जो भी हो, वो 2 पैसे कमाना चाहता है अपने घर में चूल्हा जलाने के लिए, अपनी ज़िंदगी को आराम से जीने के लिए. कोई भी आदमी लॉस में करके काम नहीं करने वाला है. और जिसको उसको जहाँ मैक्सिमम कमाई होगी, वो वहीं पे अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट करेगा. देयर आर मल्टीपल ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल. यस, टिम्बर इन दिस कंट्री, आज से नहीं, मैं 20 साल से देख रहा हूँ, स्टडी कर रहा हूँ. इट इज़ हाईली साइक्लिकल. जिस साल शॉर्टेज होती है, 2-3 साल में शॉर्टेज होती है, उस दिन एरिया ऑफ कल्टिवेशन बढ़ जाती है. जिस साल में एरिया ऑफ कल्टिवेशन बढ़ जाती है, जिस साल शॉर्टेज होती है, उस दिन रेट्स बढ़ जाते हैं. तो दूसरे फार्मर्स को लगता है यार ये अच्छा काम है, इसमें कमाई ज़्यादा होती है. 3 साल बाद जब वो साइकिल उलटती है, फिर हमारे यहाँ लैंड ये कल्टिवेशन कम हो जाती है. तो देर इज़ नो central body in this country which is, like he said, studying this pattern and coming out and making a forecast कि हमको आगे कैसे बढ़ाना है. देखिए, मैं एक चीज़ जानता हूँ, 1970 या 71 तक old records will be available. India was a net exporter of wood-based products. Today, in 50 years, we have become a net importer of wood-based products. एंड जितनी ज़मीन हमारे पास है, चाहे उसको डिग्रेडेड फॉरेस्ट लैंड बोल लीजिए, चाहे उसको मार्जिनल लैंड बोल लीजिए, चाहे उसको कल्टिवेबल लैंड बोल लीजिए, यस, एट नो पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम विल आई एवर सजेस्ट कि हमको प्राइम एग्रीकल्चर लैंड को एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ फूड प्रोडक्शन वी शुड अलाउ इट टू बी ट्रांसफर टू नॉन फूड, कीपिंग द फूड सिक्योरिटी इन पॉइंट. हाउएवर, जितनी एक्स्ट्रा ज़मीन है हमारे पास, अगर हम उसमें प्लांटेशन करना चालू कर दें, किसी भी तरीके से करें, फॉरेस्ट कॉरपोरेशन करे, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया करे, एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट करे, इंडस्ट्री करे, लीज पे करे, आउटराइट परचेज पे करे, किस पे भी करे, विद इन 10 years India will become a wood surplus country. We will start exporting raw wood to the rest of the world. Forget about importing wood from where. As an industrial, I can tell you, we are importing wood from Indonesia, Sumatra, Borneo, New Zealand, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, समटाइम्स ऑस्ट्रेलिया, साउथ अफ्रीका, पपुआ न्यू गिनी. अभी लास्ट हमारा उरुग्वे से कंसाइनमेंट आ रहा है, ब्राज़ील से कंसाइनमेंट आ रहा है, बेल्जियम से कंसाइनमेंट आ रहा है, आपका रशिया से टिम्बर आती है. नाउ आई हैव लिस्टेड आउट, मलेशिया से टिम्बर आती है, 3, 3, 6, 3, 9 और 2, 11 कंट्री जहाँ से हम इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं टू मीट आवर बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट. कैन यू इमेजिन इंपोर्टिंग टिम्बर फ्रॉम उरुग्वे, which is on the other side of the globe, और हमको वो पोसा रहा है इंपोर्ट करके. इट इज मीटिंग माई प्राइस, इट इज मीटिंग माई प्राइस बैंड. बट देयर इज वन मेजर वुड बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री जिसको हमने इस सेमिनार में, आई डोंट थिंक वी कवर्ड देम, इज द पेपर इंडस्ट्री. देयर आर ह्यूज कंज्यूमर ऑफ वुड, एंड जितनी भी क्लोनल डेवलपमेंट हुई है, सारी वुड बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री, सारी पेपर इंडस्ट्री ने करी है. दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन देयर रॉ मटेरियल. So the wood-based industry needs to get its to act together in joint hands with Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, IWST, whoever be the bodies, and we'll have to look at it holistically. And I can assure you that we will become a net exporter of timber and timber products in the next 10 years if we start work from the zero date. मैं आज नहीं बोलता, from the zero date. So having said that, I can only say that I think I've covered all that I wanted to say. हमारे यहाँ तरफ से डॉक्टर पांडे एक्स डायरेक्टर इपिर्टी हैं. If he wants to add something, and there are other members of industry, if they have other issues or any other points, I would request them to speak and add to whatever I've had to say. If that is okay with Dr. Singh. Hello?
Yeah. Please go ahead, Dr. Pandey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaideep ji. And thank you, Dr. Singh and Divas Ranjan ji. I think what we wanted to convey from industry side, most of the point has been brought out by Jaideep ji. There are few points which I would like to mention on behalf of industry. Since a very good, I think, proposal has been made in the amendment rule for diverting some of the forest land for non-forest activity. But see, this type of model, even earlier also, public-private partnership, I think some 20 years back, this thing was thought, but it has not worked. Why it has not worked? Because we were not able to demonstrate any I think, industrial model, any productive commercial industrial model actually to the industry, so that they can be get attracted towards this type of proposal, industrial commercial forestry. So that is what one thing which I would like to request, that unless and until it is made very clear that what type of land is going to be diverted. Because what I read in the Forest Conservation Act, that it is mostly for the construction of road and on the front side line of control area, where there is a problem in getting the clearances and all those things. And for that, I think it will be very helpful. Secondly, that definitely this Forest Conservation Amendment Act will take the help, or will help actually in mitigating the climate change and carbon stock, and even addressing to some extent biodiversity also. But unless and until these acts provide a sufficient, I think, provision for promotion of tree outside the forest and the promotion of tree even in the agroforestry, all this what we are talking about, achieving some 2.5 to 3 billion ton of carbon by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2007 will be just a futile exercise. So I think MOF has to clearly spell out, even in the Forest Conservation Act and even in the Indian Forest Act also, because unless and until it finds changes in those acts also, it will not help much with the existing Amendment Act. Regarding this tree outside the forest and relaxing the TP rules, it was already there. Even earlier also it was mentioned, and nothing new has been added. Whatever basically changes was brought earlier, I think you have compiled in this Amendment Act, or you have enlisted in the Amendment Act, and then so as a matter of fact, from the industry side, Dr. Singh, I am sorry, but I don't foresee much future for the agroforestry. And I think what Jaideep has already told, that agroforestry and Forest Conservation Act, these are two opposite things. Conservation you do for your forest, but let this agroforestry be left to the to agriculture department, or purely to the farmers and industry. See, even agriculture ministry also not much is contributing. It is the individual industry now who has made up their mind to make an investment in raising the plantation, and quality seedlings are going to be provided by the few companies which have started producing high. Even ICFRE also have started producing high productivity clones. So that way, if something is talked under the umbrella of today's workshop, probably it will be helpful. But otherwise, I don't see much scope. So this is my personal view, and I think few clarification has already been given that how it will well. But this is just my opinion in addition to what Jaideep ji told. Thank you.
I think there's somebody else. Prakashji Sutar had also raised his hand to speak.
Okay, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's definitely a wonderful session going on. And the suggestions which we got from Mr. Sapra and the industry. See, here I have been working on the major part of the investment, bringing investment, particularly in this country. And it really started with the making tall wooden building structures that we have already convinced GIFT City officials, and that was the initial industry expansion so far as timber is concerned, that bringing tall wooden building in this country. For that, based on my experience working with the Deloitte and Touche and many other forestry sectors like United States Department of Agriculture and the Canadian Forestry also. So bringing those elements into the business plan. See the point is, firstly you have said about the funding in the project. See, Singh sir, there are about 127 trillion US dollar, which are as the form of the ESG funds. Those are available for the ESG compliant positive impact project. ESG compliant positive impact project covers regeneration of the forestry health. Secondly, converting woodlands into the forestry, converting agroforestry into the woodlands kind of promotion for the sustainably managed forest, rather I should say an extended forest other than the reserve forest for the timber sectors, and bringing those very vast resources from the extended forestry or woodlands, bringing those resources into the timber sector, not only for the plywood, not only for the furniture, but making it all wooden building structure. And that, yeah, for that purpose, we do have the plan. We do have the very exhaustive plan, which I cannot share at this moment because of the time constraint. But we do have the 3 documents very currently available. That one is G20 definitely played a very big role. And I have already studied the Delhi Leaders Declaration on the G20. Secondly, I have been talking to the BIS and for the National Building Code adoption. And before maybe a couple of hours, I got an invitation from the BIS for a panel member for the developing building codes so far as tall wooden buildings are concerned. And sir, can you believe is 6 to 9 storage building, 12 storage wooden building, and in many circumstances it can be 18 storage wooden buildings with the entire structure made out of wood. And why it is? To create a life cycle leading to net zero. So the wood definitely has an power, because it's a renewable material, to replace iron and steel and concrete, which is consuming 12% energy, and construction sector itself generating 47% carbon emission. So we can create an entire life cycle for that. We can create a magnet to attract those 127 trillion US dollar in the forestry health, in particularly the regeneration of the woodlands and the forestry, and into the agricultural forestry. We do have a plan. We do have a solid plan, and I would like to take those plan for the implementation at the appropriate forum. That's my suggestion, and I would be able to commit those plans, means implementation of those plans for the execution. That would be my commitment, including bringing those very valuable funds in not only to the forestry but in the real estate sectors for leading to net zero and creating life cycle. That's the suggestion from my side, and I will be able to bring in.
If anybody else from the industry side want to make small comments, otherwise we'll go to the next presentation.
Yes.
केडिया जी बोलना चाह रहे हैं? आप लगता है ट्रेवल कर रहे हो, आपका माइक म्यूट है।
अभी ठीक है सर?
हाँ बोलिए। हाँ
नमस्कार। मैं ज़्यादा अभी आज बोलने के मूड में नहीं हूँ, फिर भी बोलना बाध्यता है, और मैं बहुत शॉर्ट में बोल करके बातों को, मैंने पर्सनल भी सप्रा साहब से मिला हुआ हूँ मैं, और उनका जो कहना है कि स्पेसीज ये प्राय उन्होंने सब हार्डवुड स्पेसीज बताई है कि दैट शुड बी ग्रोन। मेरा ये कहना है कि सॉफ्टवुड मस्ट बी कंसिडर्ड टू ग्रो, पहली बात। और ये जरूरी नहीं है कि हिल पर ही हो, प्लेन में भी होती है। उसका छत्तीसगढ़ इज एग्जाम्पल फॉर दैट। उन्होंने अभी बंद कर दिया, पता नहीं किस कारण से, मगर छत्तीसगढ़ में प्लेन के अंदर में पूरी सॉफ्टवुड पाइन, सबसे ज्यादा टिम्बर यदि हिंदुस्तान में अभी लग रही है तो पाइनवुड लग रही है, चाहे वो पैनल हो या कोई भी हो। पाइनवुड की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है, उस पर ध्यान देने की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है। मेरा ये मानना है कि कॉमर्स, इंडस्ट्री, एग्री, फॉरेस्ट चारों मिनिस्ट्री मिल जाए तो WBI का कल्याण हो जाएगा, और हमारी जो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज जा रही है वो उल्टे बचने लगेगी। मैं जयदीप जी से भी सहमत हूं कि यदि आज से हम लोग अपना पेड़ लगाना चालू करें तो 10 वर्ष में वी विल बी सेल्फ रिलायंट और एक्सपोर्ट करना चालू कर देंगे। और पोर्टल जो बताया सप्रा साहब ने, पोर्टल मस्ट बी मेड, डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म बनना चाहिए, GST रिड्यूस होनी चाहिए, इन्वेस्टमेंट, जयदीप जी ने भी कहा कि कौन क्यों लगाएगा, सही बात है। अनलेस एंड अनटिल वी हैव एनी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मैं फिर अपनी पुरानी बात को दोहरा रहा हूं कि जब तक सॉमिल का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मॉडल तैयार नहीं किया जाएगा तब तक हमारी इंडस्ट्री सुधर नहीं सकती। सबसे पहले सॉमिल को सुधारा जाए, उसके बाद प्लांटेशन की, इसकी उसकी जो भी आएगा, सॉमिल के बगैर कहीं कोई कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा। सो सॉमिल इज द फर्स्ट नीड टू बी मॉडर्नाइज्ड। उसके बाद सीजनिंग है, कई बार बोल चुका हूं, जब प्लांटेशन वुड आएंगे तो उनको सीजनिंग की जरूरत पड़ेगी। और यदि हम एक्सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं तो वो लोग बगैर ISPM और कई उनकी ये है फॉर्मेलिटी, उसके बगैर लकड़ी आने नहीं देते अपने यहाँ पे। और सप्रा साहब ने कहा कि एक्सपोर्ट के लिए पॉलिसी बननी चाहिए और PMO मस्ट बी कोऑर्डिनेटेड, अदरवाइज ये मिनिस्ट्री, मुझे भी भरोसा नहीं लगता, इट विल लिंगर ऑन एंड ऑन, दे विल नेवर कम टू सम कंक्लूजन। तो और जैसे जयदीप जी ने कहा कि यूरुग्वे तक से आकर के पोसाता है, नो सर, इट इज कंपल्सन, हमें यूरुग्वे से लाना पड़ता है, बिकॉज न्यूजीलैंड हैज बीन, बिकॉज ऑफ methyl bromide, it has been banned to import timber, pine wood from New Zealand. So we are compelled to import it from Uruguay, not it is comfort. तो ये जानकारी मैंने देना चाहता हूँ, और अभी ज्यादा मूड में नहीं हूँ मैं। धन्यवाद, थैंक यू।
कानला टिम्बर एसोसिएशन से कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं? अदरवाइज विल गो टू द नेक्स्ट प्रेजेंटेशन बाय मूर्ति सर।
डॉक्टर सिंह, मेरा एक ही सजेशन, सुझाव है सबकी बात सुन करके, अगर एक छोटी सी, जैसे सॉ मिलर्स की अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, इश्यूज हैं, how to expand the sawmilling, because sawmilling is one of the biggest deterrents in all the states. उनके जो rules and regulations हैं, क्या हम उनको facilitate कर सकते हैं? हम किस तरीके से एक वर्कशॉप करके गाइडलाइंस बना के गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के थ्रू हमको थोड़ा सा अलग सोचना पड़ेगा, इसके बारे में जरा विचार करिएगा.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू जयदीप जी.
थैंक यू.
Okay, thank you. We have taken note of the suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jaideep Jitlangia ji, CN Pandey ji, Prakash Sutar ji, Naval Kedia ji for sharing your perspective on agroforestry promotion. And now I request Sri KN Murthy, IFS retired, former PCC of Karnataka Forest Department for his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. MP Singh and my colleagues, and all the invitees who are on the computer terminals. I have spent 30 years in the department, and for the last 3 years we are on the other side. We are having a small startup, and our startup deals with the marketing of wood. We are also into bamboo, and we are also into medicinal plants. So now we are only represented by the wood-based industry, and they have represented their views very strongly. I would be speaking a little about other issues also. So my words may be a little bit critical, but it's meant to trigger some action. The first thing is FC Amendment Act. It's very good that you have brought some preamble. The preamble becomes relevant when there is a conflict between the sections, or there is inconsistency between the rules framed and the main act or something like that. Now here you have nothing about agroforestry. The FC Act by itself is just a land diversion act. The procedure, it prescribes how to divert the land. There is nothing to do with agroforestry. Just by renaming it or rechristening it, we are trying to play some game. I honestly believe that it is good time. It's good time to introduce a chapter, a section, part 2 of this act. If you want to rechristen it as also one Samvardhan, then you must introduce part 2 of this act, which will deal with all these issues. Otherwise, there is no meaning for one Samvardhan. Where is one Samvardhan in this act?
मैं कुछ एक क्लैरिफिकेशन देना चाहता हूँ.
Okay.
कि एक्ट जो है सटली जो है एक नड्ज दिया हुआ है एंटायर एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री के लिए, क्योंकि इधर टू लोगों के मन में डाउट था कि हम अगर कुछ फॉरेस्ट्री स्पीशीज रेज कर दे अपना प्राइवेट लैंड पे तो कल जो है कहीं इसके ऊपर जो है एफसी एक्ट लागू ना हो. तो इस प्रकार का चीज को डाउट करके अभी आप देखेंगे जो अमेंडेड इसमें 2B एक है, उसमें बताया हुआ है सच tree plantation or reforestation raised on lands that are not specified in clause A or clause B of subsection 1. यानी कि क्लास ए क्लास बी में ये है, एक तो जो नोटिफाइड फॉरेस्ट है और दूसरा जो है गवर्नमेंट रिकॉर्ड में जहां पर क्लियरली इसको जो लिखा हुआ है कि ये फॉरेस्ट लैंड है. अदर देन दीज 2 लैंड्स, बाकी कोई भी लैंड है जिसमें जो है आप चाहे तो कोई भी ट्री स्पीशीज जो है आप लगाइएगा, उसके लिए जो एफसी एक्ट जो लागू नहीं होगा. सर इस प्रकार का इसमें एक एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा जो है एक एनेबलिंग प्रोविजन दिया है. दिस इज ए बेसिकली एक्ट सर, लीगली जस्टिशिएबल एक्ट है. इसीलिए इसको एक अंदर जो है इसका इनबिल्ट करके क्लैरिफिकेशन जो दिया हुआ है. दूसरा है सर एक एफसी रूल्स में एक अक्रेडिटेड जो कॉम्पेंसेटरी अफॉरेस्टेशन है उसके रूप में भी, क्योंकि एसीए है, अब एनी पर्सन हु इज हैविंग ए लैंड ब्लॉक जो विच इज नॉट कंटिगुअस टू फॉरेस्ट तो 10 हेक्टेयर्स है. अगर कंटिगुअस टू फॉरेस्ट है इर्रेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एरिया, आप जो उसके ऊपर जो प्लांटेशन रेज कर सकते हैं और उसको क्रेडिट कर सकते हैं. तो मेरे विचार में सर थोड़ा सा जो है इसमें एक क्लैरिफिकेशन का जो जरूरत था.
I got your point. Now see, we have done 2 goofings. One goofing was by Punjab and Haryana, where they said all the canal bank plantations also attract FC. So you can't from one side cut a few trees, lay a bridge and go to the other side of the canal. So that is one problem. You can't do any development where plantations have been done. The second was the Supreme Court's kind of decision about definition for forest, dictionary definition for forestry. Now, what you are effectively trying to do is you are clarifying through this act that which areas will not be attracted, which will not attract the Conservation Act. But where is the promotion? Where is the promotion except this anticipatory accredited something, some two clauses you provided? But that's also only the definition part. So the real the core of how to handle this or how you are going to achieve net zero emission or targets of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon sequestration, additional carbon sequestration, or forest green cover extension, 1/3 of the geographical area. Let me tell you, the forest cover was expanding only when we had external aided projects. Okay, that was expanding outside the reserve forests. The expansion has actually stopped. Expansion has actually stopped after we after we stopped having external aided projects. Now, what we are reporting through the FSI or some other findings, if you really analyze it deeply, you find that the net addition of the trees outside the forest or the green cover to the country is coming from the tree-based horticulture and not really from the forest. You can take this analysis from Karnataka. My former HOFF has written a nice book on agroforest in Karnataka, and he has done the entire analysis. And if you see, the net addition to the green cover in the state is coming from the National Horticulture Mission and none from the agroforestry. So there is a need for deep introspection if we really want to proclaim this, that we are targeting these kind of things without making any enabling clauses inside. You see, where is the section in the act? Just by stating these things in the preamble and rechristening the act to give a color or a coating, it doesn't help, no. For whose pleasure we are doing this? For whose, to appease who? So that does really help. This is my first point. So if we really mean, I really hope that the government of India is will in future days will come up with a part 2 of this act. Let's say the conservation is part 1. That is the title. Conservation, forest conservation. So it is effectively covered. It's a brief act, iteratively expanded, complicated, again simplified, all kinds of things that we have done. So I am only hoping that the government of India will make use of these classes, insert a second part to this act, wherein you address all the issues, complete issues. On one side, we are really skirting the complicated issues. In the sense, you look at the Biodiversity Act amendment, you will know what it is. So on one side, we are liberalizing and simplifying things, which will really have a eroding effect. It will have a eroding effect. On the other side, we are stating in the preamble, because preamble costs you nothing. You can say it in preamble, anything you want to say in preamble. The preamble will be referred to when there is a conflict between the sections or between the inconsistency between the sections and rules or a case which you have dealt with. So my hope is that there will be a part 2 for this act. Now we are discussing the whole issue in the Forest Conservation Act is a kind of add-on to the existing forestry legislation in the country. The forest legislation have been coming from 1864. At that time, the villages were honeycombed, the forests were honeycombed by villages. Everywhere you had trees. The reason why so much of restrictions are put in is that there are trees everywhere. So you have to regulate. So everybody has been put under some kind of a regulation. Now this situation has changed. And the forest is confined to some 15-16% of the national geographical area. And rest all is free. But we still continue to continue in the same provisions. And today also we want to regulate the entire agroforestry sector, which has nothing to do with forests. We are only giving the seedlings. We are encouraging them to plant. We are telling them to raise medicinal plants. We are telling them to raise bamboo. We are telling them to raise clonal plantation. And they want to cut, then we are not ready. All included. Biofuel also we can include all kinds of things we can include. So we are doing one part of the story, but we are not prepared to do the second part of the story. I just want to take you to certain definitions, because I am sure some ministry officials are also on the screen and listening to this conversation. There are also other people. Now, the complexity of the laws from 1864. It is only complicated. It is only complicated. There is very, very few clauses which have been simplified. So many have become outdated. But we don't eliminate. We don't eliminate, we don't remove, we don't update, we do nothing. We only add to further classes to the existing classes. Now, one or two examples I just want to give you. Look at the definition. I am just referring to Karnataka Act. I am very sure very similar clauses are there in the Indian Forest Act also. Tree is defined 5.5 centimeters in diameter, 1 meter in height from the ground, includes palms, bamboo, stumps, brushwood included, canes, seedlings of trees, but does not include sandal and rosewood tree. So sometimes it is flabbergasting to read and understand a definition. So this is one definition. It excludes rosewood and sandalwood because there are other separate chapters in the Forest Act. But look at the definitions. These are why are we putting these definitions and why are we telling the farmer that grow trees? Second, you look at this sandalwood definition. It includes bark, it includes leaves, it includes oil, and sandalwood manufactured in the form of sandalwood handicraft articles. So handicrafts are excluded, but oil is included, leaves are included, bark is included, powder is included, spent waste from distillation was included. So there are any number of cases. And now we are saying raise sandal. Australia is raising, somebody else is raising, Tanzania is raising, some XYZ is raising. Please raise. But can we not simplify this? Should we not do this first? Let us do this first. Sandalwood means hardwood, whether fashioned or not. We can give a simple definition. So unless we attempt some of these things, like that, there are also several such things. Tree cutting comes under Tree Preservation Act in Karnataka, but the transportation comes under Forest Act. So we amend Tree Preservation Act, but we don't amend the Forest Act. So what happens is today, if you have to cut a teak tree, again, you cutting may be not attractive or any loss, so you can cut freely. But for transportation, you go through the entire length of procedure again. It goes to deputy commissioner, it goes here, there, everywhere, and it takes 2 years, costs a lot of money to pull the file out of the bureaucracy. And what is the use? And then definition of sawmills. I don't know, the entire sawmills has become a huge section by itself, and it is never ending. So you define a sawmill by the diameter of the blade, power of the motor, and everything, and then we want everybody to comply. But we are never cared. I am not sure whether anybody has asked the paper mill, which consumes some 2.5 lakh tons a year or 3 lakh tons a year, whether he has a license. Would it have a license? I'm very sure none of us have questioned. None of us have questioned big plywood industries where they have a license. But we are very harsh on the small fellows who have got 3 HP motor, and our fellows are at his door next day morning. So this is very, very funny, no? Then similarly, you look at the FCA Act itself and definitions of forest, how many times it has changed, and now again we are dealing with it. So these are certain issues. What I'm saying is, we are only coming from the good old legacy, and we are only adding and complicating things. We are not simplifying life for anyone. So that is not a very favorable atmosphere for expanding forestry. Even the forest bureaucracy, I'm trying to put the things in context, because if you just make a law, making a complex law or a strict law doesn't do anything. It's just a piece of paper, and that's all its value. So if we really want to pull some results out of this, you should also look at the context. So look at the bureaucracy. Its training is very overly regulatory. The way I founded this Forest Academy in Karnataka, so I led it for 1.5 years. The way we train is to look at people with suspicion. So for development, we are not trained. How do you interact with the farmer? How do you promote industry? How do you help people to earn livelihood? That we are not trained. We are trained on forest law. Then stakeholders very strong. When the stakeholder is too strong, then we give up easily, even if he is affecting the forest. Now, for example, certain cases I will give you. Timber import houses. They import huge. What is timber import? You are cutting a tree in some other part of the globe. Why can't you cut here? If you are cutting there, you have to import it all over the sea. And how much fuel you are burning? Does it make any change to the globe anyways? And those people have been given favor after favor. They can import any amount of wood. There is no transport license required. And they can, this timber import is bloody operated by mafias. Mafias in Burma, mafias in African countries. And that is why you find a lot of, I have visited me and my colleague, we are operating this company, managing this company for last 3 years. We visited a few sawmills. And we also visited big industries, small industries, farmers, everything. And that's how I am able to present this perspective. You go to the sawmill fellow, he is showing me a long pole which has come from African country, some African country, and he says CFT of teak comes to me at 1,000 rupees. Now, can local timber compete with that? 1,000 rupees per CFT. And he says, I don't want that. I'll tell you, 80% of the industries are blackmailing the farmers, showing the import timber. They have lots of teak poles. They're all poles only, less than 80 centimeters girth. And they have a lot of stock of it. They go buy and keep it in stock. And a lot of them also have other woods. These woods, what happens is foreign names. You have no sense of what this species is or what is the quality of the timber. People have been cheating. And educated people also fall for this. So what happens is the wood industry is using it as a pivot. And they are not allowing the actual prices to be paid to the farmer. We had very bitter experience. We have purchased timber for some 1,500 rupees CFT, or slightly in that range from a farmer. That's damn cheap. And we have tried all kinds of experiments and sold it at a loss of some, let us say, 4 lakhs. Now, I asked the industry fellow today, I needed some shortage was there. So I asked the timber, same fellow who cut the wood and given to us, can you give me, there is a shortage of cuts, can you give me, he says, give me 4,000 rupees per CFT. I sold at 1,500. The fellow says, you give me 4,200. So there is no kind of sense in all these things. And people, sawmills have been using, particularly those big sawmills who have the money at their command, who can buy 1 shipload or 2 shiploads of wood. They are bringing it, dumping it in their yards, and then they are using that as a tool to suppress the prices of the agroforestry timber. Farmers are not able to sell. Similarly, paper and plywood people also are doing the same thing. They're paying very less, and whosoever is able to trigger the right buttons, they're paying more, and whosoever is not able to pay, they are paying very less. A very nominal farmer gets some less than 1,000 rupees per ton of plywood. So cutting, loading, transportation to the industry, that's all taking a lot of money, and then they pay very nominal money to the farmers. So that's utterly uneconomic for a farmer to grow this thing. We may say some people have got buyback, some people are giving tonal forestry, productivity is improving, increasing and all that. That is some sense, yes, clonal seedlings have been divided. There is no doubt about it. But purchasing prices, even if they have a buyback arrangement, it will be at the prices prevailing at the time of sale. Now, I just want to tell you another example. KSDL, the Mysore soaps, are signing agreements with farmers for supply of sandalwood. We are also into sandalwood kind of thing. We are studying deeply. The government also has given a government order saying that the Mysore soaps and sandal soaps fellows will pay whatever is the government price obtained in the sandal depot. That is order. But the board has circumscribed the government order, saying that we don't need quality 1 or quality 2 wood, because after all we are going to crush everything into powder and put it for distillation. How does it matter that it is quality 1 or quality 10? There are 18 classes that will also come. So this is how does it matter for us? So they said, we don't want this for quality 1, quality 2. We want only lower quality wood. We'll crush it everything, make a powder, distill oil. So we'll pay you less. And they are paying not even 50% of the government price. But there is a government order. They have committed to the farmer to buy back. And buyback is at the prevailing price in the market. And nobody is able to help. Nobody can do anything to them. So because they are saying, if I increase the price, my soap will become unviable, uncompetitive in the market, and we will fail. We will fail as a factory, and everybody will suffer. So we keep this low. So mining projects, windmills you should see. Nobody could stop them. Hundreds of windmills. Go to Chitradurga, you will see every hill is raped very badly. So many roads, so much of digging, and everything has been done. Nobody could stop. Then same is the irrigation dams. They have destroyed the best forest in the country, and they still want what is that? One more project they want to come bring up, and that project is going to cut down the corridor of the elephants. What happens is we have some projects which are going on and on. Hubli Rankola railway project, some dam here, some canal there. Nobody can stop it. As far as time is, we are talking about conservation. What Conservation Act does? Conservation Act only prolongs the matter, and finally you are yielding to these pressures, and finally you are giving permission. If Mekadatu is being discussed for 10 years, 11th or 12th year it will come through. Nobody is going to stop it. Hubli and Kola will come through. Nobody is going to stop it. No matter what the Forest Conservation Act says. No, where is the conservation? We are losing the best forest for some of these things. So stakeholders are small. When the stakeholders are small, we are very hard. We are very hard on sawmills, petty sawmills. Very hard on some people who cut down some trees here and there. But we yield to bigger pressures. Regulatory regimes are gone for a toss. Earlier, whatever impact the law had, the forest bureaucracy had. Today, because it is democracy, we don't have that kind of force with us to ensure compliance. We can't do it now. Now, does it mean that, am I saying that well, let's relax everything and let's take out all the things? That's also not correct. I want to give you one example of the silver oak. We have removed. There is no restriction whatsoever. No restriction. Anybody can plant, anybody can cut, and anybody can transport, anybody can supply, anybody can use. There are no restriction. Then what happened? The silver oak was under regulation. A few years ago, we have relaxed it. What happened? I will just list this out. There are no rules whatsoever. Coffee estates. Coffee estate, shade crop had a lot of native trees. Lots of trees, because they need the shade coffee. Shade coffee has higher price in the international market. What they have done is, they have removed all these native trees, put only silver oak. Now you go to either Hassan, go to Madikeri, or go to Silver Oak, look at a coffee, stand at a slope, bigger, higher slope, and see, you see a sea of silver oak. It's a sea of silver oak. There is nothing else from a distance. You see, it is just a sea of silver oak. All biodiversity is completely wiped out, gone. There is nothing. ಯಾವ್ದು ಬಿಟ್ಟೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಏನೇನು ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. So they only have silver oak because that is easy to cut, easy to sell, and there are no regulations about it. So what happened is, as a result, biodiversity is gone, and the pest, coffee borer, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ, and the yields are coming down. There are no bees left, because coffee flowers only when it is raining. After that, there is no where can the bee go? When local biodiversity was there, they were here and there everywhere. Now bees and all, even the soil has become very sterile, because these silver oak leaves, they don't melt so easily. So now they are some of the enlightened people are coming and saying, boss, this has gone wrong. I visited a sawmill in maybe I think, I don't know whether I should be narrating you some stories. I visited a sawmill which deals only with silver oak in Chikmagalur. So that fellow said, I asked him, was with permit better, without permit better? This no permit is situation better. He said, sir, that was better. I asked, why? He says, now everybody, whoever was gang labor, gang leader, labor gang leader, they have all become contractors. Our big contractors are left. The small fellows have become contractors. They don't ask, they don't tell anything. They overnight cut the trees, they bring it and dump it in my sawmill. Morning I come and see, I don't know who has dumped it. That fellow comes after 2 days, and these are all very small sizes, under sizes. They're in a hurry to get some money. Somebody sells, somebody buys, and I really don't need it. But they are bringing and dumping in my gate, at my gate, and I can't use this. But I have no choice. He says, this is terrible. And if you go to a coffee estate also, you will see people are planted in very close spacing, and today you have left with only pole crop in the coffee shade areas. You don't have mature trees. So it neither meets the market requirement, nor it does anything good for the farmer, and nor it does anything good for the seller also. So we try to procure some wood. The bigger sizes were in demand for packing cases and plywood, one layer they want to use. But now there is no such wood available. All wood available is 30-40 cm, and that does not yield much veneer to you. So what do we do with such pole crops is a big problem. So now that factory fellow also says, sir, it is better to have some regulation. If you completely remove, then it will be gone for a toss. Genetic future also, seed also we don't get. I just listed some points. What quality of wood, the seed, future seed, local ecology, a lot of issues are related to this. We can remove the loss completely, but that is going to create a new set of problems for us, and we only have to solve this. And by coming back, nothing else. You come back 360 degrees and restart. So that is not a good idea to completely eliminate. We have to simplify. Let us simplify, but simplify it into some logic. What are the problems the tree growers are facing? No information on what to plant. Now today, people are planting some mahogany. I don't know who guided them. They are planting some African species. I don't know who told them. No, I don't think IWST is supporting, or we are telling, or our department is telling. They are just doing on their own. So they also don't know. Somebody said, and at one time they said acacia mangium is a great tree. And there was a flurry of activity. Seedlings were sold for hundreds of rupees, and a lot of people planted. And finally, they found it's a junk tree. Hot rot threat is there. It is not even good for paper pulp. So everybody is cut down immediately. So this kind of thing is going on. The quality of planting material, nobody knows what is that quality. No technical guidance, how much to, where to plant, how much to plant. Every day in my office, there will be a debate on what is the space meant to be followed for bamboo. There are different species of bamboo. People are fascinated with the northeastern bamboo, some 10 species, and each species has its own height, its own kind of productivity. And people come and ask, at what space meant should I plant, sir? There is no definitive answer. So every day we discuss, and then for that day we arrive at some conclusion, but the day doesn't stand. This is our situation. So no technical guidance is available, and there are a few people who are selling teak tissue culture. I think that is one of the few successes in forestry. Somebody has successfully produced clonal seedlings. He sells at 300 rupees. And people thought, oh, clonal seedling will give me a lot of wood. They planted at 1 meter, 1.5 meter, 5 feet spacement. Full. 1 hectare he had, so he has filled it with so many seedlings. But he was never told that he has to thin out something, otherwise it will not grow. It has nicely grown into poles of some 5-6 meters. After that, it is not putting any increment for 10 years. And he just was saying, what happened? Is tissue culture wrong? So he's saying, people who have planted at a distance, they got very good returns. Even if they're cutting at 12 years, they're getting good returns. Nobody is there to guide. Nobody is there to guide. Demand and price change due to long gestation. So our teak, when we promised 96, this debate happened. Then people said, you plant one teak tree, it will give you 20 CFT. And each CFT will sell for 5,000. You make 1 lakh rupees out of the tree. And that was officially published. And there are several companies which have issued IPOs. So many people collected shares. And today, the actual yield is, it comes to anywhere between 8 to 12 CFT. And per CFT, it goes for 1,000 rupees. And that is the promise we made then, 1 lakh. And this is the actual return. So we need to there are several reasons. Maybe people at that time would not have guessed about liberalization in import, certain things which happened. So we don't know. There has to be some body, some organization which should look at the situation and put out some information and say what is required, what is not required. Then very cumbersome procedure for harvesting of trees. All of us know about this. No fixed marketplace to sell. Somebody wants to do it on his own, there is no way. He has to depend on a middleman. Then the buyers, particularly the middlemen, are greedy. This is one section. I'll talk about it in the further next slides. No fixed. Then industries are no less. Industries are also, I tell you, I offer to so many industries. I offered 1,000 cubic meters last month 24th. We floated a tender on MSTC platform, offering 1,000 cubic meters of teak wood, 2,000 cubic meters of this one, Milleduvia, and another some XYZ quantity of different species. Not one industry turned up. We expected that if they give price, reasonably good price, we thought we'll cut from farmer, supply it, and after deducting small commission for our operating costs and office management, we'll return the money to farmers. Not one industry came. The industry may talk bigger. Now, again, in another month, I am going to put up some 10 plots for standing auction of woodlots. Last time I did that with another platform, Tata platform, M Junction platform. Not one fellow came. This time there were some queries. You know who were inquiring? It's the same middleman. Who are the same middlemen? They were inquiring, show me the plot where it is. I want to assess the trees. Then I will give you the price. You show the plot and you will start dealing with the farmer and he's going to mislead the farmer and somehow cheat him. Most cases, the farmer is not paid properly. They promise something, some advance is given, trees are cut and taken. After that, this may pay or may not pay. Sometimes it is paid, sometimes it's not paid. A lot of mischief is happening. So, the industries, if they come forward, it is a very good thing for the industries also that we can supply in bulk. A lot of teak wood is available. There is absolutely no need to import, no need to get it from anywhere else. There is a lot of wood available, but no buyers. Together, the middlemen and the industries. About this, I'll be saying something. There are what are the options? Before that, I would also say that why is agroforestry so complicated? Agroforestry policy was put out by the Agriculture Ministry. They pulled out that policy and then they couldn't do anything except for supplying a few seedlings through their watershed department and other things. So then bamboo and sandal, the promotion part of it went to horticulture department in the central government. So they gave a lot of money and said every hectare you take 50,000 plant. So they went on giving. Now also bamboo mission is funded by the horticulture ministry in the central ministry. Then the medicinal plants is in the health ministry, NMPB. That is there in health ministry. They fund medicinal plants and all that. Then another tribal welfare ministry, that FRA Act, that is a big leakage point for the whole forest sector. And Forest Conservation Act does nothing that. Once that lady officer, IAS officer, who was heading at some point of time MOF, and later on went to tribal ministry, and she was the person who formulated this act. So she came for delivering a lecture in IMB. I asked her, have you put a sunset clause? Means the people who are in place as on that day, and application will be received only as on the last date of so XYZ. She said that particular first clause is there. When the act comes into force, up to that they are eligible. But subsequent clause, the rules are to be framed by state governments. State governments are not ready to frame rules properly, and they go on extending the deadline for submission of applications. People have gone and encroached yesterday. Today they are going and giving application in Gram Panchayat. And the act says that once the fellow gives an application, he cannot be evicted until you complete the process of FRA Act. And that FRA Act process completion will take some 10 years because it is with the revenue. It will get stuck somewhere in some 10 years. What is the use of this FCA if you are not able to plug this kind of problems? Now, everyday issues in several districts where the politicians are too strong and they're telling their supporters to go and grab some piece of forest land and give an application. Because that last line, closing deadline, is not given. And that deadline is to be framed by the state governments. The state governments are relaxing date after date. Okay, it will go on. When is it going to be closed? So that is not there. So these kind of complexities are there. They need to be addressed. So what are our options? Our options are, we have to find a middle path. Completely removing the law is also not good. I gave you the example of Silver Oak. Having very complex laws also is not good. Adding labyrinth after labyrinth, layer after layer. If you go on adding to the laws, it is really not going to help anyone. Now, the first thing is, I would suggest, if you really want to encourage agroforestry, please ban this import. This has to be stopped first. Whatever the industries may think, let them think. There is no problem. There is enough wood in the country. There are no buyers. We should first ban these imports. That is the number one point I would flag. Even the finished furniture also, there are excellent industries in India. I one day went to Jodhpur and saw there are 2,700 units. Most of them are exporting wood to other countries. I could not believe the quality of the furniture they make. So there is no need to import any furniture from Malaysia or some other country, Indonesia, to India. We have all the expertise with us, all the wood required for us. We should ban this business. Remove the shackles on tree growers. Now, the millions of farmers need not be punished for some mischief by a few middlemen. So what we have to do is, you have a system of licensing this middlemen and ask them to, report. then you will know. These fellows are the lot of mischief is played with the middlemen. You have a system. You please feed the farmer. Farmer is cheddiwala. Anybody who wears a pant goes to the town. This cheddiwala, poor fellow is growing a few trees, and he cannot understand your definitions which I have explained. So that cheddiwala, why are you making his life miserable by putting so many laws? You remove all the laws from that person. You have some other system of tracing the origin, the certificate of origin, bus, and have a simple system of giving certificate of origin. Then it will go on. What do you need? You should know from where this timber is coming. So you have a simplified system of issuing a certificate of origin. Then middleman has to be licensed. This is the batch which is creating a lot of problem. They have to be targeted, and those middlemen should have a license, and they should also report what they are doing, how they are doing, and that then you will come to know what is happening, where it is happening. Then the next one I am suggesting is remove the tree cutting permission and transport permit with the certificate of origin. Tree growers are not a homogeneous group. There are different categories. So the same rule will not apply for everyone. The same prescriptions will not apply for everyone. So the farmer is, some small farmers raising a few trees is different. There are absentee landlords. I get a lot of inquiries from the techies. I have 30 acres of land, 50 acres of land. I am staying in Bangalore. I can't cultivate, so please tell me what I can raise and all that. That's a different kind. The urban people are another group. And there are big farmers who have 100 acres, 200 acres. They want us to take that land and do medicinal plants cultivation. There are different categories. So we need to identify what their needs are and accordingly have some different systems. The agroforestry, I think the stage should be given to the gram panchayats. They are the right people because they are locally there, their presence is there, and they can find out how much of vegetation is there in that area. 1/3 of the country cannot be forested simply without fixing responsibility. Who is responsible for 1/3? Every gram panchayat should be responsible for putting 1/3 of their area under green cover, and MGNRAJ is anyways there. A lot of money has been wasted on some soil digging, soil earthworks only. So far, a lot of earthwork has been done. Now it's a good time that you spend that money on greening, and a system of where the Gram Panchayat will act as a central place, where forest department officers also will come. They will, on a weekly basis, you go on certain date and call people, whoever wants to meet you, they can meet you there. Coming to forest office is such a hassle. Meeting a forest officer, because most of the time he is not available, he is on some work. So it is so much of hardship. So best thing will be that you start operating at the Gram Panchayat level if you really want to promote agroforestry. Then establish a system of marketing farmwood. Some system has to be there. There is no system right now. That is going to be, there has to be some system recording TORs. This also has to happen in some RTC somewhere else, in some kind of annexure. We tried to insert it in RTC. Crop service happens every year during Kharif. So we went, met the agriculture commissioner, we went and met the concerned officer and said, can you also simultaneously do this tree survey also, put it in the RTC so that it becomes very easy to know who is where. And these days apps are available on the mobile. So you go and stand in a place and you switch on the app, it will tell you what is the survey number, where is the boundary, who owns it, everything is given there. So if you have the trees added to that layer, it becomes easy to extract the trees. So they said, no, sir, this is not possible. Then the interministerial committee has to be there. Then e-governance cell has to be there. Then revenue department has to come on board. Forest has to come on board. And this is so complicated. It has not happened. 2 years we tried to see that these can be added to the RTC. Me and my friend went 2-3 times. They only give you reasons. It has never happened. Universities also should come in somewhere with clonal material, all that, some good quality material they have to give, and the research institutes like our Coimbatore Institute, a good planting stock has to be given. Technical advice also has to be given. Somewhere we have to display on some portal or somewhere how to cultivate teak, or how to raise bamboo, for which species, what is the specimen. Somebody has to do it. No, it cannot be just left in the air and people draw their own conclusions. Then a blockchain technology for the industries. Industries, they can use the certificate of origin can go with a QR code, and industries can further, when they cut the sizes and use the sizes, a barcode will do. That will give you the chain of custody. Then these polluting industries, they have to adopt one taluk. One taluk they have to adapt. There has to be something like a working plan. How much of good trees are growing here? How much is harvestable? How much is not harvestable? And they have to provide incentives to the farmers to grow more trees. So overall, what I'm saying is, the laws alone will not help. Saving the natural forest is a different ball game. So there, the Forest Conservation Act and whatever preamble you are saying may be good for that, but it is no good for promoting agroforestry. The approach to success in each area, whether it is extension forestry or whether it is classical forestry, the approaches are very different. You cannot mix these two. The natural forest laws have to be tough. There is no doubt about it. Laws for promoting the agroforestry, they have to be liberal. You can't have tough regimes and then also say that I will promote agroforestry, meet the industrial requirement, export the wood. All that is not possible if you have too many laws. And the preamble of the FC is mixing up both. This is my point. I only hope that I again come to the same conclusion that part 2 of the act will be there, and they'll bring up all this legislation, whatever they want to achieve, whatever they have stated in the preamble, goes into part 2, and then they start implementing it. So with this, I conclude. Thank you very much. ನಿಮ್ಮೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿಲ್ವಾ, ಮಾತಾಡಿಲ್ವಾ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೀ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟೇಶನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ನಿಲ್ಸಿಲ್ವಾ?
Sir,
No, because I am on the other side of the fence now for 3 years. We have some experience. Yes.
sir, one concluding remark and thanks. Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, earlier speakers have spoken from the wealth of their experience. Albeit, considering the topic of the subject today, most of the points, some of the points for me were like out of the syllabus. So let me veer back the discussion to the specific topic of amendment to FCA Act. Sir, I understand.
All these things. Particular point. Right, sir. Particular point that is regarding ಒಂದು ಅಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರ ಲಿಬರಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಓಪನ್ ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಡಿಮ್ಡ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ದಟ್ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ ಎಕ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ತಾವು ಅವಾಗ್ಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ದು ಇದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ಹವಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಪ್ಯೂರ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದಾನೇ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಬಟ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಟುಡೇ ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಲೀಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತೇನೆ 1000 acres ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಡಿಮ್ಡ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಮೈನರ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ, ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂತ ಒಂದು.
Sir, actually, I understand your question, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. What the Honorable REC member was telling was that there is an apprehension in the minds of the people that large tract of forest land will be leased to industries. Yes, sir. Right. Sir, in fact, if you look at it, there are two opinions here only. Yes, sir. Sir, this is the very fact because of which ministry told, let clarification be given by disseminating the facts of the amendment. Sir, if you look at it, earlier there was a lot of confusion about what is a forest itself. Some people wanted us to define forest in a particular way. Some people didn't want us to define forest in a particular way. Committees after committees were formed, but they didn't come to a logical conclusion. In fact, keeping it open was a preferred mode because more areas were covered in the Forest Act. And definitions and interpretation of court also created little more confusion. By incorporating all the positive things, so now they are trying to clarify to forest land to which FCA Act is applicable. Sir, if you look at it, every sector has issues. Agroforestry sector is no different to that actually. So what has to be appreciated is, sir, Forest Conservation Amendment Act, it has tried to not add one more problem to the sector. Sir, in Karnataka's experience may be different, But ministry was flooded with so many complaints that FCA Act is being imposed on plantations grown on farmlands actually. When they went to cut it, when they wanted to divert it for non-forest purposes, for their own purposes, officers had gone and told that no, FCA Act is applicable, we will not give you felling permission under Preservation of Tree Act, PPA. So, in fact, as I told earlier also, sir, FCA Act may not be directly linked to agroforestry, but this clarification that is not applicable to what lands, coupled with reforms in the state acts, like state felling permission, the Karnataka Forest Act, PTA Act, liberalization in felling and transit rules, no, sir, together will contribute to the growth of agroforestry sector. That was my view, sir. In fact, there is a context, there is a background to which, because of which this clarification has been brought out, sir. So I have worked in Goa, sir. Let me tell you, people used to burn plantations on their land, private land, because they used to think that some committee will come and identify it as forest and they will apply FC Act. We have seen it with our own eyes, and they will just file an FIR and say, so somebody has burnt it. Now I will use the land for my own purpose, for real estate or concern. So with the background of this context, these complaints, ministry thought it prudent to clarify that we may not aid directly agroforestry, but at least we should not discourage by imposing FC Act on areas, on plantations which are grown in non-forest areas.
My point is, if you have represent that,
Yes, sir.
also given the development component, in that time, where is the act?
Sir, let us come to the guidelines, sir. We will wait for the guidelines, because, sir, if you see, sir, increasing the carbon stock and all can be done in multiple ways. Not only growing trees on a non-forest land, but also increasing the density of existing forests and all also. So there are multiple ideas. I think my request would be, this is just an introductory phase. We will have more such discussions subsequently. Ministry is in another 1.5 months. Ministry is going to come out with specific guidelines and specific orders, sir, which will clarify much more issues in detail, sir.
No, people get my point very clearly. The guidelines will have no legal standing. If they are not
Sir, no, sir. Now it will have.
If it is not backed by the section in the act,
Yes, sir.
or a rule, simply issuing guidelines,
Sir,
it will not have
no.
any legal.
Yes.
Okay.
This has been now adequately addressed.
Yes. Yes.
The scope of this amendment act has been like those guidelines and other things. There has to be some statutory backing with that novel objective test. Now there is a amended section 3C. There it says the central government may from time to time issue such directions to any authority under the central government, state government or union administration, or to any organization, entity or body recognized by the central government, state government or union administration as may be necessary for implementation of this. Now the directions of the central government from time to time have the legal backing and they are now legally binding upon the president.
Subramanian, let me clarify again. We have had a very brief act, 2-page act, Forest Conservation Act. The guidelines went into, I think, 2 volumes or 3 volumes. How many volumes?
Guideline is only 1 volume, sir, and that has been periodically updated.
I don't know. I remember having read 2 volumes of guidelines. The act is 2 pages. The guidelines are very huge, some big number. I don't remember exact number. And if you read the guidelines for 2 days or 3 days, and at the end of the guidelines, you'll be more confused. This question of treating the farmlands also with a good wood density under FC Act came through the guidelines. The forest officers were never themselves involved in this. It was forced on the officers by the ministry.
Sir, no, sir. I think we should.
No. You look at particularly Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and some other states. This has come through higher instructions. Instructions from higher level.
Sir, guidelines have been, many of the guidelines have been questioned and given sanctity of the courts also. So as such, there is no problem, sir. But anyhow, whatever anomalies were there, whatever problems were there, that have been tried to be addressed in this amendment, sir. Actually, now at least they carry the force of law.
So what I'm trying to say is, look at the company sector. There are millions of companies. That act is a very complex act. All rules are pushed in that only. Because we have little rules, but not the rules are on that. That is less confusion, less confusion. What we are thinking is very brief facts and too many guidelines. That's also. That's also.
Okay, sir. We have few hands raised. So we'll go to Nitin Patel ji, please.
नमस्कार सर।
Yeah.
आपके कल रात हमें पीडीएफ मिली, हमने पूरे इंडिया में स्प्रेड आउट किया, मगर अभी इसमें 7 फार्मर्स पार्टिसिपेट है इंडिया से। सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम फार्मर्स को ये आता है कि सब इंग्लिश में होता है, तो उसको अंडरस्टैंड होता ही नहीं है, तो वो पार्टिसिपेट नहीं हो सकते हैं। दूसरी बात, अभी सप्रा सर ने और जयदीप सर ने सब बताया है, बहुत अच्छा है। हमारी एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि जितना भी अमेंडमेंट होता है वो किसानों के लिए होता है और कंट्री के लिए होता है। तो जो भी है, मैं काफ़ी बार कह चुका हूँ कि जो भी है किसानों समझ सके ऐसी लैंग्वेज में उसको पब्लिश किया जाए, ताकि पूरे इंडिया में स्प्रेड आउट हो, कंफ्यूजन किसानों को ना हो। जब किसान क्लियर होते हैं तो हम जितना अपेक्षा रखते हैं इनसे भी ज़्यादा वो रिजल्ट दे सकते हैं। तो ये एक बात हमारी ये थी। हमने अभी थोड़े दिन पहले, आपको पता होगा कि हमने ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग प्रोग्राम पूरे इंडिया का अभी 1 महीने पहले किया था। तब हमें पता चला कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की ओर से 1 नेशन 1 पास यानी ट्रांजिट परमिशन के बारे में 1 नेशन 1 पास अभी हो रहा है। शायद कुछ इम्प्लीमेंट कई स्टेटों में हो गया है, ऐसा मैंने सुना है। तो इससे भी किसानों को और इंडस्ट्रीज को काफ़ी सरलता होगी। दूसरी बात, कई बार मेरा तो कंसंट्रेशन सर सैंडलवुड में ही है। जैसे जयदीप सर ने बताया, सो मिल के अंदर काफ़ी कुछ चेंजेस होना चाहिए। मुझे गुजरात की ओर से प्राउड है कि जितने भी इंडिया में सो मिल्स है, शायद कच्ची पटेलों के है, गुजरात के कच्ची पटेलों को ही सो मिल्स होती है, जब तक मुझे ज्ञान है तब तक। ऐसे ही फ्यूचर में सैंडलवुड के बारे में हम 29 में इंडस्ट्रीज बनाने वाले हैं, जो हम पहले से बहुत क्लियर है हमारा एसोसिएशन, क्योंकि अभी सैंडलवुड है नहीं। तो पर्टिकुलर सैंडलवुड के बारे में हम बात करें तो सैंडलवुड में हम 28 में सब लैंड एक्वायर करेंगे, 29 में पूरा ये करेंगे, और मार्केटिंग का सभी फंडा हमारे पास बहुत क्लियर है। तो सैंडलवुड के किसानों को हम कोऑपरेटिव बेसिस पे ही पूरा सैंडलवुड का प्लान कर रहे हैं। तो इसके लिए ही हमने ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग प्रोग्राम बनाया था। तो शायद भविष्य में सैंडलवुड के किसानों को कुछ ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम आएगी नहीं, और 5-6 साल के अंदर तो शायद काफ़ी फॉरेस्ट के रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन भी बहुत सरल हो जाएंगे। तो हमारी आपको यही है कि आप हो सके इतना जितना भी चेंजेस आते हैं किसानों के बारे में, तो सरल भाषा में पब्लिश किया जाए, सबसे ज़्यादा हिंदी में पब्लिश किया जाए, तो पूरे इंडिया के किसानों को हम स्प्रेड आउट कर सकते हैं, ताकि किसानों को अच्छा रहे और साथ में इंडिया को भी काफ़ी ये फर्क पड़ेगा। तो हमारा ये सबसे बड़ा सुझाव है। बाकी तो जब जो पॉजिटिविटी है वही हमें सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद है। ओके सर,
थैंक यू
सर ये नितिन पटेल जी का सुझाव सही है। क्योंकि हम दक्षिण प्रांत में कर रहे थे, कर्नाटका, केरला और गोवा में कर रहे थे, गोवा के क्षेत्र के लिए कर रहे थे मेनली, तो इंग्लिश में रखा। बट पूरे देश में सभी प्रांतों में ये मुद्दा और अनेक मुद्दों पे आने वाले 1 महीने में बहुत सारे कार्यक्रम होने वाले हैं। गांधीनगर में भी होगा, बहुत जगह होगा, वो क्षेत्रीय भाषाओं में होगा। ऑलरेडी प्लान तैयार है, उधर भी कार्यक्रम होगा। ये आपकी
हाँ, दूसरा ये कि शायद ऐसा होता है तो हमें 1-2 दिन पहले मिल जाए। तो हम, आपको पता ही है सर कि हमारे टच में 12,000 किसान पूरा इंडिया के टच में है सैंडलवुड के, और सैंडलवुड डबल फॉरेस्ट्री, ट्रिपल फॉरेस्ट्री कर रहे हैं। हम किसानों को गाइड कर रहे हैं कि सबसे पहले सिक्योरिटी की बॉर्डर के लिए हम बाम्बू प्रमोट करते हैं, तो इट्स एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री। सैंडलवुड के साथ होस्ट है, वो भी एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री है। तो ये सब हम ट्रिपल फॉरेस्ट्री का हम कर ही रहे हैं। तो किसानों को हम 1-2 दिन 3-4 दिन पहले हमें जो ये प्रोग्राम का मिल जाए तो हम किसानों को स्प्रेड आउट कर सकते हैं, और एक किसान दूसरे कितने भी किसानों को स्प्रेड आउट कर सकते हैं, लोकल लैंग्वेज में होता है तो।
जी जी बिल्कुल।
थैंक यू। आप ये इसका हम लोग हिंदी में भी अनुवाद करके आपको सर्कुलेट करेंगे। आप अभी हमने सप्रा जी को जो रखा था वो नॉर्थ इंडिया से रखा था, उन्होंने अधिकतर प्रेजेंटेशन हिंदी में ही दिया। तो ये सभी का अपना अपना लिमिटेशन होता है, लेकिन हम लोग आपकी बात को ध्यान रखेंगे और बाद में इसका हिंदी अनुवाद करके हम लोग सर्कुलेट भी करेंगे। मिनिस्ट्री से जो आई है, जो एक्सप्लेनेशन आए हैं, उसको भी हिंदी अनुवाद भी किया जा रहा है, वो भी सर्कुलेट होगा और आपके गांधीनगर में भी वर्कशॉप होंगे।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू। और अभी धीमन जी का देखा था, हाथ उठाए हुए थे। हाँ,
गुड आफ्टरनून जी, डॉक्टर धीमन।
गुड आफ्टरनून। प्लीज आप हिंदी में बोलिए पूरा।
ठीक है, मैं हिंदी में बोलता हूँ। मेरे हिसाब से 3-4 चीज़ें हैं जो करना जरूरी है। मैं आपको कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करता हूँ कि आपने इस टॉपिक पे भी लीड करके FCA के साथ एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री कनेक्ट करने की वर्कशॉप की। कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस फॉर इट। पर मैंने बहुत पहले ही इसके ऊपर कमेंट कर दिया था, आई फाइंड ए वेरी लिटिल कनेक्टिविटी। मैं बहुत कम कनेक्टिविटी फाइंड करता हूँ एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री और FCA के बीच में। बहुत पहले जब सेमिनार शुरू हुआ था तभी मैंने ये पॉइंट रेज किया था, क्योंकि दोनों बिल्कुल डाइवर्ट एक्टिविटीज़ हैं। मेरा दूसरा पॉइंट ये है कि अभी एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री में हम बॉटम अप अप्रोच फॉलो कर रहे हैं टिल डेट। टॉप टू बॉटम अप्रोच अभी हमने फॉलो नहीं की है। गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे, सेंट्रल लेवल पे अभी तक ये क्लैरिटी बिल्कुल नहीं है कि इसको किसने डील करना है। द फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी वुड बी to give the business to either to the agriculture ministry or the forest ministry. It can't be a rolling stone like anything. It's such an important sector. इतना important sector है जिसमें 90% लकड़ी एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है। नो वन इज सीरियस एट टॉप लेवल। गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे फर्स्ट एक्शन इज टू बी कि भैया ये तो एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री को देखना है या फॉरेस्ट्री मिनिस्ट्री को देखना है, या फॉर दैट मैटर आई वुड सजेस्ट कि ये कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री को देखना चाहिए। इंडस्ट्रीज एंड फार्मर्स आर गुड इनफ टू इंटीग्रेट विद ईच अदर, और वो दोनों आपस में बहुत अच्छी तालमेल के साथ कर रहे हैं। अभी किसी ने, छापरा जी ने एग्जांपल दिया था कि जी उत्तर प्रदेश में पौधे आ रहे हैं, वो हकीकत है। फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट भी वहीं से आंध्र प्रदेश से पौधे लेके उनको क्वालिटी के नाम पे बेच रहे हैं। तो क्वालिटी इज नॉट इवन नोन इन हॉर्टिकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट। वहाँ पे लॉ होने के बावजूद भी वहाँ पे अब उन्होंने ग्रेडिंग सिस्टम किया है कि ए ग्रेड नर्सरी, बी ग्रेड नर्सरी, सी ग्रेड नर्सरी, क्योंकि वो भी अपने पैरामीटर मेंटेन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। लेकिन एक फायदे की बात यह है कि आंध्र प्रदेश के एक छोटे से गांव में 15 करोड़ पौधे पैदा हो रहे हैं और वो देश भर में जा रहे हैं, एंड फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट भी ले रहा है। तो उस पैरामीटर को भी किनारे रखते हुए मैं ये कहता हूँ कि पहले तो बिजनेस किसके पास जाएगा? एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट के पास जाएगा, फॉरेस्ट के पास जाएगा, या कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री के पास जाएगा? एग्रीकल्चर को छोड़ दें, परे फॉरेस्ट्री को छोड़ दें, इंडस्ट्री और फार्मर का कंसोर्शियम बना दें, दे विल पुश अप द एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री एज ऑन टुडे। मेरा लास्ट पॉइंट कहना का ये है कि यूपी में अभी इंडस्ट्री लगने का काफी स्ट्रगल के बाद रास्ता साफ हुआ है, लेकिन अभी बहुत से आगे रास्ते हैं। मेरा अपना मानना यह है कि इंडस्ट्री को एक प्रायोरिटी दी जाए कि आप इंडस्ट्री क्रिएट करिए। आपको लकड़ी पे हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में सब्सिडी देंगे टिल 2 ईयर्स, और उसके बाद आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि जितनी वुड आपको चाहिए उस एरिया में आप प्रोड्यूस करेंगे। दैट वुड ट्राइगर द एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री। वो एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री को बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ावा देगी। इंस्टेड के हम कहें जी, पेपर में लिख दें कि वो कर रहे हैं जी, कंसोर्शियम बन रहा है, वो बनाते रहें, लेकिन वहां पे 1-2 साल जहां पे भी न्यू एरिया में जाएंगे वहां इंडस्ट्री को ये बेनिफिट दिया जाए कि वहां पे फ्री ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट दी जाए। मैं इसको इसलिए कह रहा हूँ, 40 साल के अनुभव के बेसिस पे आप भारतवर्ष में जहां भी घूमेंगे देखेंगे जहां एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री डेवलप हुई है वहां पे वुड बेस्ड क्लस्टर्स हैं। ऐसी जगह जहां वुड बेस्ड क्लस्टर नहीं है वहां एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री डेवलप नहीं हो पाई है। इसलिए अगर एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री आपको न्यू एरिया में डेवलप करनी है तो वुड बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री लाइए, उसको 2 साल वुड की सिक्योरिटी दीजिए, उसके बाद उसको इंश्योर करिए कि आपका वुड रिसोर्स आपको खुद उस एरिया में डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, जिसकी वजह से आई थिंक एग्रोफॉरेस्ट्री विल एक्सपैंड like anything. Thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to speak.
थैंक यू धीमान जी, थैंक यू, आपने अपनी बात को रखी। मैं अब बंसल साहब से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा।
Thank you, MP Singh. I'll try to restrict to the topic, that is FCA amendment. I
Sir.
just want to two or three things. Number one, has the amendment come into effect as of now? I think not. Because the date from which the FCA amendment comes into effect has yet to be notified by the ministry. Kindly correct me if I am wrong.
सर
You're right, sir. It has not yet come into effect.
सर इसीलिए मिनिस्ट्री पहले चाहती है कि इसका डिसिमिनेशन हो, उसके बाद नोटिफिकेशन आएगा।
एक्ट तो बन गया ना, इफेक्ट करने में क्या है, डिसिमिनेशन तो चलता रहेगा। एनीवे दैट इज वन अनदर पॉइंट।
आउटलुक है सर, एक दिस सितंबर मंथ इज फॉर डिसिमिनेशन, सो दे हैव प्लान 12 वर्कशॉप ऑन द वेरियस एस्पेक्ट्स इन 12 प्लेसेस। उसके बाद में हो सकता है नोटिफिकेशन आएगा सर।
अगर अच्छा होता अगर ये वर्कशॉप अमेंडमेंट होने से पहले प्लान की होती, देन इट हैव गॉन इनपुट, नाउ इट विल बी ओनली थ्रू द गाइड एनीवे। नाउ एज फार एज द प्लांटेशंस आर टेलिंग that the FCA is not applicable to plantations raised on private land has already been clarified by the ministry way back in 2003. So the amendment is not bringing in anything new in my knowledge, because this thing that the trees raised on private areas will not affect FCA has been well clarified way back in 2003, only 20 years back. Now FCA is simply telling it is not applicable. That's all right. So it is not bringing anything new. Now about aggregate land, see compensatory afforestation. Now if somebody has raised a plantation, will these land which will come in view of compensatory afforestation will not be required to be notified as RF or PF as is mandated currently? What is the situation, or what is the thought process? Will these CA land, which will be non-forestry land, which will be given in lieu of forest diversion, will they be required to be notified as protected forest and managed by the concerned state forest department, or they will be managed by the concerned industries?
No,
because
sir.
that is very difficult position. I have failed to understand what is this. It is only the advanced planting, then the area comes to the as a CA land, and it becomes a part of the forest land. It has to be ultimately to be notified as RF or PF or whatever it may be. Is the situation changing?
ACA has to be notified, sir.
It has
so the concerned industry which is giving that land will have no right on it to harvest that timber and use it. They'll have to go through a different route.
Sir, it's in lieu of the CA.
So I think so the impression which was being given, or which some people got, that the industry can harvest, replant on that land, that is not correct. It is only advanced preparation which the industry can do. If they want to get diversion of forest land, they can prepare some land in advance and offer it in lieu of compensatory afforestation or NPV, whatever the area. Not compensatory afforestation, it's only for compensatory afforestation, not NPV. Am I correct?
Correct, sir. You are correct.
Okay. And third point is, in Goa situation, somebody told, what is the status of applicable to FCA to notified for private lands? There are certain areas which are private forest, which are notified and recorded as private forest. Does with the amendment, whether the FCA will be applicable to those lands or not?
Sir, if you look at the definition of government records, no, sir, it's quite wide and all-encompassing. So, one second, I'll come to it, sir.
No, because what is happening is that there is a confusion getting created that there are surveyed private forests. There are private forests which are notified. There are private forests which are not notified. And there are some private forests which are recorded as forest in the revenue records. So I think as far as the definition is concerned, if you go, it is recorded as forest in a revenue record, the FCA would be attracted. If it is notified private forest, then also FCA would be attracted. And in Goa, I think most of the private forests are notified as private forests.
So not
the government record.
Not yet, sir. They have been identified. Still the matter of
identified. Is there a record? Because is there a affidavit filed in the Supreme Court telling that this is a forest land? Will
Sir,
that attract? Will that
multiple
attract the FCA?
in the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court has reverted back to High Court. High Courts are monitoring the process. So multiple records have been created and they are already placed before the High Court. Now NGT also is.
No, my point is very simple. When the state has filed an affidavit telling that these lands are forest, and they have filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court, will such lands attract the provision of FCA or not?
Sir, we will have
yes or no?
we
What
have
is
to
the
wait
view
for
of the ministry?
Sir, we will have to wait for the guidelines that will be issued by the ministry. As of now, government record has been mentioned as record held by the Revenue Department or Forest Department of the state or any authority, local body, community or council recognized by the state government or union administration. So this is the definition, sir. So
that's okay. I understand. Another point in the northeast, there are large areas which are community forests, and there are no records. There are community forests, good forests, but there are no record, neither revenue nor forest. Nobody is having any record. So by this definition, I think all the areas would not attract the provision of FCA.
sir, I think we'll have to. I think
we'll wait. We'll quote the guideline. Now, one last point that somebody mentioned about this lease of forest land. What I understand that FCA does not say that forest area can be leased. It only says that if the lease is to be given, whether it is a government organization or a non-government organization, the prior approval of FCA under FCA of the Ministry of Environment and Forest is required. It is nowhere supporting or opposing that lease can be given. It only says earlier with the government organization, the FCA approval was not required. Now it says even whether it is a government body or a private organization, if the lease is to be given, prior approval of FCA is required. Prior approval under FCA of the government of India is required. Is my understanding okay?
Right,
or
sir.
I'm missing something?
No, you are correct, sir. Right, sir.
Okay, thank you. And once again, we have a good discussion on agroforestry, less discussion on FCA amendments relevant to agroforestry. But it is always good to brush up the information coming about how to promote agroforestry. Thank you.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Good evening. My name is Raju Narasimhan. I'm calling from Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. Can I get a chance to speak about 2 minutes, please?
Please go ahead.
Good evening to everybody. Well, this discussion was very much interesting. Now, let us talk about the farmers, those who have a land, pata lands. Those who have a pata land, they have raised a lot of timber woods since from last 20 years or 40 years, whatever it may be. And that pata land, whatever you are producing, that land also you should have a record with revenue departments. And then when you are felling that, you need to take a permission from DFO local authorities. That's clear. And now, such the recent information what we have, we can sell about 900 tons of red sand is also. That also has come up. I think this has been changed into commercial department, commerce department. I'm sorry. And is that clear? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Those who have a pata land, they will be able to raise any amount of forest, agroforestry, and that can be sold with the permission from District Forest Authority. That is what I could understand. Please correct me and review my points. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Sir, if you are growing any forestry crop on a non-forest land, that is a land which is not declared as a forest or not notified as a forest and not recorded as a forest, then Forest Conservation Act will not be applicable. Only local state government act which relate to felling and transit shall be applicable. That's all. So you are right, sir.
That's clear. And still we are getting a lot of confusions with the district forest officer and the farmers when we wanted to make some seasoning. When the Gaja cyclone came up, there were a lot of trees fell down. Still we are keeping that wood. We could not able to do anything. When we wanted to ask some permission from the concerned DFO or anyone from Forest Authority, we are not getting proper permission from them. Why? Why we could not able to do it on our own pata land? Please answer my question and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Sir, see the regulations relating to felling and transit vary from state to state. I think we'll have to look into the state-related regulations and then comment. Right now, we are. It's like I told, it's out of syllabus for me because we are dealing with the FCA Act, which is a central act, sir. But of course, local acts will regulate that. Any specific issue pertaining to state the state government authorities will be able to answer correctly, sir.
So we have one more hand raised. Chansakra Rao. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'm from Andhra Pradesh, Visakhapatnam area. Thank you very much first to conduct this type of program and allowing all the farmers in this group. And another thing, I'm a farmer. I'm growing around 10,000 trees in my patta land. When coming to cutting the trees, there are a lot of regulations. I'm unable to get permission whenever I required. So, if possible, let this agroforestry in patta land left with some make easy, and whenever I need, I can cut my trees, I can sell my trees like that. If do, it is a good for farmer as well as it is promote agroforestry. So, or you can instead of forestry department, let agroforestry put in horticulture or agriculture, so we can go easily and whatever the requirements we can meet easily. So I feel like that. Please comment on this, sir.
Andhra also you have transit permit for the, because in Andhra most of the species are notified as agricultural produce, isn't it?
No, sir. We need, when we are going to fall the tree, mature tree, we need to take permission from district forest officer and many channels, many guards. Lot of system is there. So MRO certification. After that, we need to go.
If someone from Andhra Pradesh Forest Department is still there, I think I could see Andhra Forest Department in the beginning.
Okay.
Yes, somebody should be there. Just open your mouth and speak about it, please.
I think now they left. Actually, they were in the beginning. They were okay. We will take.
Sir, Pankaj Agarwal from Dehradun, sir.
Okay.
It is a very important issue raised by some of our participants, sir. Patta land. I think we can flag this issue and communicate to the ministry when they are making the guidelines. They will take care of that.
Okay. ठीक है Pankaj.
Ministry, is it state ministry or central ministry?
Central ministry. They will make the guidelines.
Thank you. That's what will be clear. We all are Indians, and it should be taken very clear points from central ministry that will work out very clearly for the farmers, those who have a patta land. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else wants to make any point?
Yeah, sir. I have a couple of points to share with you.
It should be related to the topic, not on the wooden building.
No, this is related to the topic only.
Okay. Otherwise, okay.
See, as we earlier discussed briefly, that there is a grand vision, and that plan needs to be rolled out. And it's begin with the sharing all those documents and the business plan with you and the entire team, including we will have to include Navalji in the discussions. That here, as I am showing you, that the climate focus initiatives and network for asset managers and asset owners, and these are all the institutional investors group on climate change. They are holding, sir, 127 trillion US dollar. We would like to bring in as a ESG funds in the sector, in a forestry, in agroforestry, in additional woodlands and all other place, and bringing those raw material, replacing the highly embedded carbon material which goes into the real estate, into the construction sector. So here the plan is to create a whole life cycle in terms of the environment, forestry to the environment, then the economic, and this also relates to the commerce. There are 3-4 cycles coming up, and I was very closely studying at the declaration, sir. We have just with the one action, we will be able to address 8 goals of G20. So when it can happen, sir?
जी मैं आपकी बात को समझ गया. I invite you to come to Bangalore. We'll have discussion. केरिया जी से भी बात कर लीजिएगा. We'll have a discussion and then we'll figure out how to proceed. Okay. उसको
Okay, sir. And one more thing, because on 27th there is a Confederation of Indian Industry Realty conference taking up on 27th of September in New Delhi. So I'll be there in New Delhi for 4-5 days. So is that any possibility where even I will be able to share those aspects firstly with yourself and Navalji, and then if it required, because I am going to be personally there. So is that a possibility to share those things?
We will talk offline.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
हाँ.
All
ये
right, sir. All right.
otherwise everybody will leave. Now see, from 150 now we have reached 60 participants online. So
Okay, sir.
Anna, so let us conclude. Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, gentlemen. Nice hearing all the very good informations. And let's come to your conclusions. We all are Indians, and we should only listen to the central government of India so that we all can follow only one rule for India. Thank you.
Now,
ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ಗಿಡಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಬಯೋಫಿಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೆಡಿಸಿನಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಇದರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಗಿಡ ಮರ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ನನಗೆ 25 ವರ್ಷ ನಾನು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೈನರ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ನನಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಒಂದು ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಈವನ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ, ನಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಈವನ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೃಷಿ ಪಂಡಿತ್ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್, ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಟ್ರೀಸ್, ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೇನೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದೊಂದು ಲಾಭ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು
ಸರ್. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನೀವು ತಾವ್ ಹೇಳೋದು ಸರಿ ಸರ್, ತಾವ್ ಹೇಳೋದು ಸರಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಸರ್, ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್, ಅದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಮಿಸ್ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿನ ನೆಗೆಟಿವಿಟಿ ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕೊಡಬಾರ್ದು, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕೊಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಬೇರೆ ಆಕ್ಟ್, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸರ್. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಿಸ್ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ದೂರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾವು. ಇದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್.
Now I request Sri Anjan Kumar, AIG Regional Office, to give formal vote of thanks to conclude the workshop.
Thank you, Palni. Sir, today we all those officers who have joined here and also the participants. So as a concluding session of this particular workshop, my duty is to extend vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the ministry, especially Shri Bibhash Ranjan sir, ADG Wildlife, who attended online and graced this occasion as chief guest of this program workshop. Then the main head of this organizing institute, Shri Dr. MP Singh sir. From the planning time, I was interacting with him. So he has given a lot of suggestions, and as per his directions, we have carried out this workshop. His directions were very valuable. Thank you, sir. DDG, Deputy Director General of Regional Office, MOEFCC, Shri P. Subramaniam sir. Sir was also very supportive, and he was extending his guidance and support all throughout for organizing this workshop. Sir, thank you, sir. Shri Mahesh Kumar Shambhu, DIG, Regional Office, Bengaluru. Sir, you have made a very good presentation, and just in a simple way, you have explained what are all the provisions in this FC amendment and how it can be related to this agroforestry or promotion of tree growth outside forest area. So your information were very valuable and helpful. I hope for most of the people who participated here got a glimpse or a small outlook into what are the provisions in this FCA Act. Thank you, sir. Then other panelist, Shri R.K. Sapra, retired IFS officer. Sir, though he joined online, he could able to explain what are all the issues related to the tree growers or the wood-based industries. So thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable inputs. Dr. K.N. Moti, retired IFS officer from Karnataka Forest Department. Sir also presented various aspects, like mostly the learnings from the field, what he has experienced with respect to the tree growers, and his own experience also he has shared. Some of the things, though it was not directly relevant to FC, but he could able to bring out what at present the farmers or the wood growers are facing in Karnataka in general, in specific. So thank you, sir. Thank you for your participation. Shri Jaideep Chitlangia, Secretary General, FIPPI, and all other participants from the Wood Growers Association and organization. So they have expressed their concerns, several issues related to wood industries, and some of the aspects which can be connected to this Forest Conservation Act. So thank you everybody for your active and vibrant participation. Though online, everybody were throughout, and there were a lot of information exchange happening at this level. So thank you everyone for your participation. Other than that, we have participants from tree growers, students, scientists, and scientists from these organizations, professors, assistant professors from educational institutes. So those who have participated in this workshop. So thank you everyone for participating in this workshop. At last, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Press Information Bureau and media people. Just we are finalizing the press release. So on our simple request, they could able to come and cover the event. And today between 7 to 9 p.m. in DD Chandana, this will be telecasted. So they have taken all the pain to send their staff to cover this program. So I extend all the thanks to the media people. So at last, the people who worked here in organizing, keeping the plates, serving the food, all those who have worked in the background, and the persons involved in organizing from IWST, for all of them, I extend my sincere thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir, for nicely organizing the entire thing.